All right, guys. So today we're going to be going over the fill in the blanks form. I sent that out. I hope you all received that. I sent it out Tuesday night. So I know it was only a few days, but hopefully you guys were able to check it out, kind of answer the questions. If not, we're going to go over it today together. And then I'll also reveal what I had answered when I went over it originally. And then we're just going to do kind of like a semester overview and just kind of give out what our favorite part of this semester was, and just like a general overview of what we learned so far from this semester. And then lastly, we're going to stop the recording and we're going to look at key art and trailers of independent films through Vimeo, and then kind of like see what they did right, see what they did wrong, and comment on them. So starting with the fill in the blanks. The first question, this picture right here on the left, why is key art important? Kind of vague, but that's why it's a broad range of answers you can give.
Oh, let me take a, yeah, I can take a shot.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, because that's since that's the first thing that they're gonna see, it has to have you know an impact.
Exactly, yeah. It's the first thing that somebody's going to notice when they are scrolling through the platform, or when they're walking into the theater or going to buy a ticket. They're going to see that piece of key art or that poster, and they're going to then decide if they want to look into it further or not. It's the first chance you get for getting someone to check you out, check out your project. So yeah, I would say that's basically the answer. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
Well, with it being like marketable and like it's like a visual summary, or not like a visual theme, I guess I should say, about what.
Yeah, I can hear that. Like it's kind of like the first like the tone and the style that you're giving out of what the film is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
when
it's
we
kind of
went
like a
through it-
log line for a description, but like a visual for what the film is. So if the quality's low for the first thing they see, then they're gonna automatically assume that the film is low quality. So what
One, I was going to say one thing that we also touched on when we learned about it was that it doesn't like if it's just cool looking, it's not necessarily enough if it doesn't like do a good job at showing what kind of film it's going to be. Because otherwise you might have an audience see it and think it's one thing, go into the theater and be disappointed because it's actually another. So also showing, like hinting at the genre, the tone, that kind of thing is also very helpful, especially because it draws people that are interested in that kind of imagery and that kind of film. It draws them in even more because like, oh, I like those kind,
Mhm.
I like stuff like that. I like stuff that has a bunch of action in it and there's like a huge action explosion in the back or something like that,
Explosion on the
Or I like,
poster.
or I like that actor. He's normally in these kinds of, in pretty good films. Or, oh, I love romances, and this looks very gooey, like the cover of a romance novel type of thing. So.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into question number 2. What are some of the things you need to consider when creating key art?
The campaign,
The campaign as in like the message?
no, as in where it's going. Like it could be on a bus. It could be on a bus to on a flyer. So the
Like
key
where to
art has
put
to
it.
fit. Right. So so it has to be appropriate where you can fix it for for a bus billboard, or to a standing billboard, or what is that again? Or the inside of the theater, because there are different types of platforms too. So it has to fit every platform that you want to promote it. So
Yeah,
So you have to
you're
think
definitely
about
right. It has to, because if it's on a small, tiny little image that we're only seeing through streaming on something like YouTube, we're only going to see a small little thumbnail of it. But if it's a huge picture on the bus, you have a lot more room, a lot more visibility for different things. And so you have to think about where all you plan to place it so that you can have something that's a little more versatile, that you can move around, adjust, and create specifically for each thing. Like Gabe was saying, like if it's for a bus, then maybe the words don't have to be as big. This Amadeus thing, if it was on a bus and it was that big, it might be taking up more of the poster than needed because it's on a bus, so it's a lot bigger. So now we can shrink that down a bit and stuff like that.
The dimensions in general to fit the different kind of places that you're going to be sharing it, both in real life and on social media as well. That's super important, because otherwise it'll look chopped, it won't see the whole image. It might look very pixelated if it's not the right resolution.
Resolution, yes,
It might
that's
look
very
blown out.
important. If you're going to try to print it out, you need a very high resolution image. If it's just a screen grab from your film and you try to print that out, even if you shot 4K, it's sometimes not going to be good enough depending on how big it needs to print out. Printing needs this high resolution things, which is why they use the professional photographers to capture the photos that are used in the posters or in the key art or whatever you're printing out, because that needs very high resolution to still look good when printed. So yeah, the dimensions, the aspect ratio. Again, the aspect ratio will differ depending on what platform you're on. Some of them, this is like the general poster aspect ratio, where it's longer from top to bottom and shorter from side to side. But then we have the streaming platforms, which have the wider from side to side and shorter top to bottom. So then you have to think about how an image that'll work for both. Where am I going to cut out, or what do I need to focus on, or how do I readjust the sizing of all these pieces to make it look good and still look the same, but fit a different aspect ratio. That's definitely another thing.
Sometimes you might even have to consider like what parts of the poster you're going to focus on more in different ads as well, because what's going to fit on TikTok is not going to fit on YouTube, because what's going to fit on YouTube is not going to fit on TikTok because it's a lot more narrow. And so if it's a wider shot, it's not going to show the whole thing. So you might want to focus, okay, let's focus more on the close-up shots, because we're going to have a much more narrow space to work with.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody else have any other ones that they can think of? Something you need to consider when creating the key art.
Well, I already mentioned the like the tone and everything, so I guess that goes without saying.
Tone, style, genre. Yeah, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
the colors.
Yep, the colors. Yep. The colors will make it feel, there's certain genre norms that you can either go with or go against, but certain genres use specific colors more often than other types of genres for their film or their key art. So that's something to keep in mind and something to definitely pay attention to whenever you are making it, because that's also something that's going to reflect what your film is, and also it's going to draw people's eyes depending on what it is. So we can see Django Unchained, it's all just red with little like a negative for the black, white. And then you can look up here at Tron and it's very blue. There's yellow and black, there's white and black, all these different color schemes that pop out and draw your eye when you're looking at them. So color is definitely a big one. Anything else, guys?
Light is another thing too, like which characters are going to be in the foreground, background, what you're going to focus on as far as light, because that will also show you like this is the main character, obviously, because he's lit the most. Or this is like separation. What's it called? I forgot. Subject separation of like the subject with the. Gosh, I forgot the term. See, I suck at terms.
Like
You
having
know what
them
I'm talking about?
backlit. Is that
That
what you're talking
too, but I was thinking about like having the separation between the foreground and the. But there's a term for it. I just don't remember what it is right now.
about? Oh, wait, are you talking about having like the background blurred out? Depth of field?
That could be it too, but I just mean like you have to think about, do you want the entire image to blend together, or do you want there to be separation between like the person and the background of like, let's say, a ship or whatever, you know? You have to think about that instead of making it look smushed or look like it was photoshopped in. That's another thing that you have to consider as well, like making it look as good as possible as far as like lighting and separation of subjects.
Like maybe the tagline as well.
Tagline, yep. That'll be the little thing that's somewhere on the poster most of the time, where it's something about the film, maybe a funny quote or just like an ironic sentence that'll describe a piece of the film that maybe the poster can't.
I would also say separate room either in the bottom or at the top, whatever. Like make sure the image you're using has like a clear space for you to do the lettering and do the credits and the title, because otherwise it'll blend into the image and it'll be hard to see, or it won't stand out, pop out as much. And the font that you use also can make a difference.
Yeah, I'll put that with composition, I guess, because that's kind of like where you're going to place all the different pieces. Another thing is Priscilla's bringing up the titles and stuff. The font.
Did we say something else?
What?
I thought we said something else.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was thinking, I'm not 100% sure, but did you say something in the past about it being like, think of it like a resume, possibly? So I'm thinking about like if you were to use that with pitches, like, did you say that for this? Like where you put the on one side and then the information on another side?
I think I might have. I don't know, honestly. I think I might have, because like a trailer and key art, they're both kind of like if you were at a job interview, it'd be your resume. It'd be what's drawing somebody to pick you. And so the key art is like for the film, a resume for what is going to draw people to this film. What is going to make you, what stands it apart from everything else just based on the key art alone. So yeah, in a way, it's kind of like a resume. And I might have said it better in the past. I don't remember.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, another thing, Priscilla's talking
Sometimes
about
inspiration just hits
about
him.
the font style that we choose, and that should, that's very important, and it should match whatever your movie is. You usually see like these sharper edged letter characters for horror and stuff like that, because it looks, and they can easily like add blood drips to it and whatever else, but or it's a little bit bigger and smoother for something that's like a kids movie or an animation or something that's a comedy. They usually just have like giant big letters. Kick-Ass right here, it's just big huge letters and they're pretty blocky, and so that just the font alone can give us a sort of idea of what kind of movie it is. Tron, you can see the letters are different than something like Amadeus or Gandhi or Jaws. They're all different, and they're all trying to match that key art and the film itself.
Yeah, everything needs to. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Would you say they made it like what?
I was just saying, like, thank you, like a memorable prop or like a memorable scene or setting is something that maybe you can consider for your key art.
Yep. Yeah, and or a actor or something else. So like your marketable elements. What is going to be the main draw? Is it a scene? Is it the genre it's in? Is it the actor? Because those things are usually in the trailer, but also in the key art to show, hey, look, I mean, look at the gray. It's just Liam Neeson's face. So if we didn't have Liam Neeson there, then they'd have to choose something else from the film to put as the poster. But because Liam Neeson is maybe the main draw, he's the poster. And they added some elements to make it clear what kind of movie it is. But the fact that it's mainly just his face on the poster shows that he's the main draw. He's the marketable element for that film. I think, does anyone else have
Older
anything?
movies, I was gonna say older movies were a little more all over the place, not like in a bad way, just like in a very different style. But now you can see that newer movies try a lot harder to not be as busy, because you want to have a focal point in order to catch the person's eye. You want to have something that will draw them in. And if there's multiple images competing for the attention and they're all given the same amount of brightness, the same amount of busyness, it can be distracting. That is something that I heard a lot from just artists in general. Having like a focal point, having something that immediately draws you in, and then you keep looking and you notice all these other little details. That can also be like a really cool thing. Like you see a poster of, I'll give the example of like our Mass Effect poster, right? We have a poster of a video game we really like, and there's the main characters, but there's also like the side characters in the background that are a little darker, and then you see like little bits of the story in the shadows. Lord of the Rings poster, we have same thing. So you see like the main story, but you see things that are going to draw you in initially, like something that's going to pop at you so that it stands out when you're looking at a bunch of posters. That poster in particular will stand out for some reason, and you'll be like, oh, that looks cool. And then you're like, oh, there's that too, and that. This must be this kind of movie. I don't think that's like a rule, but it is something that I've heard can help a lot.
I'm going to add sizing of font and other elements, because that's kind of what you're what I took from what you're saying. Because yeah, like you can see in this one, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, they have the character is bigger, but they're in the background. They have these characters in the midground, but they're in between the foreground and the background. And then you have all these other characters that are a bit smaller. Some are in the background, but then some are right up in the foreground. So one of these is going to draw your eye first. Most of the time it's going to be this guy, because he's in the foreground and he's just like the brightly colored thing that might pop out. You might also draw to this guy because he's in the center. But leading lines and sizing and foreground or background and composition and sizing are all going to make a difference depending on where people are going to look first.
And again, it gives them an idea of what your movie is, who's the main star, what it's about, even if it is like in a more subtle way.
Does anyone have anything else to add besides that? Because I can't really think of anything else. There's probably more, but I'm not off the top of my head. All right. So here is for script analysis. Read the below pieces of script analysis and categorize them by what they are. So we're going to categorize these by whether they are given circumstances, exterior or interior actions and dialogue, objectives or super objectives, or story beats. There's 3 of each, so they all have equal amounts of where they belong. This is just a fake bit of script analysis I wrote for this purpose only. For A, Kyle recently moved out of his parents' house and currently lives alone. Would you guys say that's a given circumstance, an exterior or interior action of dialogue, an objective or super objective, or a story beat?
It's a given circumstance.
Yeah,
I,
given circumstance. Something that we can draw from the script. Well, obviously this was already this was already taken out of the script analysis, but it would be that we found somewhere in the script, it says that he lives alone and he moved out of his parents' house. B, Kyle's main goal in life is to move on from his troubled past and find true happiness. Is that a given circumstance, exterior, interior action and dialogue, objective or super objective, or a story beat?
a super objective.
Correct.
Let me see.
Super objective is the life goal of a character. It's the thing that they want most out of anything. Sometimes it might not be known to them, and sometimes they will know exactly what they want. It just depends on the character and how self-aware they are. C, Kyle says he does not want to be around anyone, but later gets mad at Lily for leaving him alone, showing he did not really mean what he was saying.
This is a far one. I don't know.
That'd be like,
It's oh no, go ahead. Somebody give
oh, no, you're good. I want to give you,
Oh.
yeah. I already
No, I was
went through
thinking-
these with him, so
I was thinking it's a story beat. I don't know. It sounds like a story beat.
It could be at that moment, whenever he does get mad at her, I would say it is. But in this instance, it's the exterior or interior action and dialogue, because it's about him saying something. He's saying that he doesn't want it, but this character Lily, she actually leaves him alone. He gets mad about it because he was really meaning, and his interior action, what he was really saying was that he needed somebody, but he was, exteriorly saying that he didn't want to be around anyone. So the subtext was that he was lying in that instance.
or he was too proud to actually ask for.
Yeah, he was scared to look vulnerable or something like that. And that would be found later or somewhere else in the script or within that moment if we have other clues that hint to it. All right, D. When Kyle shuts Lily down, the tone in the scene changes.
Story beat.
Yeah.
It's late.
E. Hey, let me help you with that. Henry most likely goes over and helps Lily lift the box.
Exterior.
Yep.
It's the exterior interior action. Okay.
Yep. So that's an action it's not specifically in the script, but if he's saying, hey, let me help you with that, and he's going over to Lily, then we can most likely assume that he's helping her with whatever she's getting. In this instance, lifting the box. And, the script might say that he's lifting the box. It might leave it out. So you just have to kind of get the clues from the text and the subtext and figure it out. Lily's goal is to get Kyle to open up to her in the scene where they fight.
This is another. Well, anybody? So, it's another. It just sounds like an objective. I
Yep.
don't know. Like okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's an objective. It's
I know. Right? That was.
Yep, you're like,
yeah, almost. No, because there's I don't know if it's an objective or a super objective. It's just an objective.
It's just an objective, yeah. So a super
Okay.
objective would be Lily's main goal, like what's her goal in life. An objective is moment to moment or even scene to scene. So in the scene where they're fighting, what she's really trying to do, what we can gather from the script analysis is that Lily is trying to get Kyle to open up to her, but they fight instead. So her goal going into the scene, or her goal somewhere in that scene, is to get him to open up to her. And so that is just an objective. Her main goal in life isn't to get him to open up to her. It's probably something different, maybe to have a happy life with Kyle, or maybe to be happy, or maybe to be successful, or whatever. There's multiple things people want for their life, but just an objective is just one singular goal in a moment. Or even in a film, an entire film, depending on how long the story takes place in, if it's a few days, somebody could have the same goal for the whole film, but that doesn't mean it's their super objective. It doesn't mean it's their life goal.
Sometimes it's what they're doing to work towards the life goal too.
Yeah, true.
It's the actions they're doing in order to get there.
Yeah, the life goal is like every single thing they do, unless they're self-sabotaging themselves, every single thing they're doing is leading them to that thing that they want. All right, G. When Henry looks deep into Lily's eyes, there was a moment that is shared between them, but the mood changes when Lily turns away.
All right, I'm close. So she changed. It's another exterior. It's weird. It's another. Can that be that too? It's an exterior. The exterior one.
It would be
The
an exterior action with her turning away,
exterior-
but in this instance,
Okay.
for the exercise, no.
All right. Yeah, I'm wrong. Okay.
Hey, I mean, you're right. There probably is an action in there. It's just out of the ones that I have.
Yeah, we're just breaking down like specific moments. So in one scene, you can have multiple of these things. You're just
Okay.
slowly analyzing it. So that's one analysis, one perspective, one part of the bigger story, the bigger scene, the bigger picture.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a story beat. When they're looking at each other in the eyes, there's this moment that kind of maybe pauses.
Yeah,
It's like
right,
it feels a little longer than the rest, but then the mood changes when she suddenly turns, so that the mood shifts. He thought, she thought, and he thought maybe they were going to kiss and it was going to be romantic. But when she turned away, it kind of put a pause in that, or a knife in that, or just changed confused the heck out of it, and changed the mood of the scene. So it's a story beat.
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, you're right. She would be, when she turns away, that would actually be an action. However, we don't have the piece of script to know whether it says it in the script or not. If she said I can't, then we can assume that she's turning away. But if it actually is in the action that Lily turns away, then that wouldn't be the action in dialogue.
Yeah, because sometimes in the analysis, we're just talking about things that possibly are happening in the scenes or could be happening. It's like, oh, from this, we deduce that this might be happening or this might happen.
Yeah.
It's more like a subtext too.
Yeah, definitely.
Since it's the subtext. Now, that makes more sense as a subtext.
Yeah, so the exterior and interior action and dialogue is mainly about subtext, and the story beats are mainly about the tone, or the shift in tone of the scene.
Okay.
All right, we're going on to H. It is sometime in the night in summer. Sometime I said sometime, didn't I?
I don't know, maybe I heard wrong.
Well, let me say it again. It is sometime in the night in summer.
It's one of the given circumstances.
Yep. Given circumstance, this is either explicitly stated or implicitly implied in the script. When it's a given circumstance, we either have to kind of figure out what time frame it is and when it takes place in the year and whatever else. And we can either draw upon that from clues within the script if it doesn't explicitly state it. But obviously, if it explicitly states sometime in summer, or if one of the characters says it, then we can automatically say that it is summer. So yeah, it is a given circumstance. All right, next. Lily says she enjoys the date. Henry, what?
Just typo.
Oh
What's the
yeah,
date,
it's supposed to say
Henry?
two. Lily says she enjoys the date to Henry, but seems to have been thinking of Kyle the whole time.
Hmm.
Your mouth says something, but your eyes say another.
Three, which is isn't that sort of a beat? It's a beat. Like,
Not
can it be like
necessarily,
more than-
because it might not have
No?
changed
Okay.
the tone throughout the whole time. Could have been feeling the same.
Oh,
The beat is
I
about a
understand.
change in tone or a change in the feeling of the moments to moments.
It's an exterior. It's a interior action.
Yep.
Okay, because I was gonna say if there was more of a subtext as well. You
Yeah,
know
so
what I
the
mean? If it's-
subtext usually comes
okay.
from the interior action and dialogue is like,
Mhm.
what is the character thinking in the moment? They might be saying something. So Henry could have said, in the script, the fake script, Henry could have said something like, oh, that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And she's like, yeah, that was nice. But really, like from what we gather from reading in between the lines, what is Lily truly thinking? Because we have the overall script, we can see it from both sides of the character. We can see it from Henry's side and from Lily's side, and we can get the feeling either through Lily's actions, interactions, or subtext actually in the script that she doesn't really seem to enjoy the date with Henry. Maybe because that big fight scene that with Kyle just happened, and she's still thinking about it the whole time. And so she's not really like giving Henry full answers or something. So that would be the interior action and dialogue. Something she's exteriorly saying that she enjoyed the date, but interiorly in her head, she seems to not have really enjoyed it too much because she was thinking about something else the whole time, specifically somebody else. Okay, next is Kyle's brother Mark is in prison for the murder of his fiance.
Given?
Given circumstance.
This
Yep.
is already.
Since it's just either past information or it's something he brought up, it's given to us through the script. All right, next, when Henry walks in on Kyle and Lily, things feel awkward.
That's a beat.
Yeah, that's a beat. Anytime anybody comes into a situation, it always changes the tone for the most part. Because if you have two sons and they're talking, and then the mom comes in, they might talk differently. It might feel differently. The feeling of the room shifts. And so, when Henry walks in, especially because it's like Lily's having a thing with Henry and Kyle, that can get awkward fast. So that automatically changed the feeling of the room, which would be that story beat. And then last, Henry is trying to find a way to ask Lily out in the scene where they first meet.
Super objective? No.
It is it's objective. Yeah.
Okay.
Because his life's goal wouldn't be to ask her out. It would maybe be to marry somebody and live happy or whatever. But his scene goal in that moment
Is it because? But also, is it because like Henry is not like an integral part of the whole of the script? Like he's not that important in the script to have a super objective.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't know. If we had the whole script, we could see
Oh, all
if
right.
we know enough information or
Yeah, we
not.
don't know.
But yeah, this is because like basically what I did was just make pretend script analysis based on a fake script
But here's the thing. You can
to include.
you can see from context, like while reading it. Well, that's not necessarily always true, because in this case we don't have the full story. But let's say it's a scene and you're reading it, and he is thinking of asking her out. Okay, that is more likely with context clues. One of the objectives, so he can reach his main goal, which is either dating her, marrying her, proving to her that love exists. I don't know.
Dating her, I would say, would still be a objective
Well,
because no, because a life goal, somebody's life goal isn't to be to date somebody.
you don't.
No, seriously, somebody's life goal would never be to just date somebody. That's
You don't know.
if that's your life goal. I mean, I feel
That's
sorry for you. I want nothing else in life besides to date this person.
It's a little sad.
That's a
but
little swingy.
That's the
You could be
movie.
to marry this person and to have, you know, whatever, have a family with them, or just to marry them and live happily ever after. If it's some kind of movie like that, fairy tales, they end like happily ever after.
You don't know. Maybe they're not traditional.
All right. Question number 7. Based on the above key art, what might the USP be, which stands for unique selling point, aka the film hook?
Cure for the common man.
What was that?
The cure for the common man.
No, that would just be the tagline. So
I
the
would
unique
say-
selling point is like what sets this film apart from everything else. What
Will
makes
Smith.
it unique? It's kind of like the marketable elements. that we
Will
talked
Smith,
about. What was that?
There's a lot.
the man himself.
Yeah.
What did you say, Vish?
The man himself, Will Smith.
Ah, yes. Will Smith. We can see that because the poster is Will Smith. Yeah, it's just him. It's literally nothing else besides him and Hitch. And you know, the cure for the common man as well. But also they have in big bolder letters than that, Will Smith is Hitch.
Yeah.
So it's very much like Will Smith is in this. Will Smith, guys. And so that would be the actor, yeah.
Also
Oh.
because it's a rom-com, and I don't know, I can't say this for all rom-coms, but
Because not every movie like Hitch, if you're looking at similar movies, not every movie has Will Smith in it. So that
Exactly.
is the unique selling point
yeah,
of this one, is that it has Will Smith in it. So if you like Will Smith, there you go, he's in this.
especially because rom-coms were really big back then, and there were a bunch of them. So
A
you would have
bunch
to be
of
like,
them,
okay, what's gonna stand out in this one? And even though the premise is interesting, it's kind of hard to translate visually as well. So that's another thing to take into consideration. And then Will Smith was huge at the time.
Honestly, I'm surprised you saw the Cure for the Common Man thing, because that blended into this for me. I feel like they should have set it apart a little more.
Honestly, I didn't see it.
I
the
didn't
first
even
time.
notice it,
No,
yeah.
I didn't notice it either.
You see it, right? It's so
Yeah,
small.
yeah, I see it now. I was like, oh shoot. I was looking through the poster like, what? And I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That's him standing beside Will Smith, of course.
Yeah. All right. Number 8. What is a pitch deck?
The overall is the overall pitch book which can be the show Bible,
Mhm.
or it could be the show Bible, or that was the other one.
So the show Bible is the TV show, the television's version of a pitch deck. Pitch deck is used more like for film, and then show Bible is for TV shows, but they're both basically the same thing. But you were saying it, you were getting the answer. So what were you gonna say? What is it though? What is it used
Oh,
for? You know, why do you make it?
To pitch a movie to pitch a movie when you have a meeting, so that you have everything there prepared for the
Yeah.
meeting. So any questions for the slideshow.
Yeah, so it's a presentation. It's a compact presentation of a film, or if you're using a show Bible, it's a compact presentation of a TV show. To, just like you said, you go to a pitch meeting and you present it in a way that is easy to follow along with, is concise, to the point, and gives out some of the story information, some of the production information, and other things like that, so that people know what this film is, what it's going to feel or look like, and who is working on it, as well as who might be in it if somebody's attached, as well as what other films are like it, what's the budget, and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. What are some things you might want to include in a pitch deck? I actually just gave some of them away.
You'd want to include the title,
Title, yep, definitely.
what your story is about, and the main characters. Definitely the budget. I'll let someone else go.
All right, good. All those were good.
Log line,
Log line, yep.
synopsis.
Synopsis.
Oh, that's it. Let me see. Look, is there also like locations?
Yeah, locations. You want to show off how many there are, you know, what kind of locations,
Character bio,
character bios, yes.
crew bios,
Crew, yep, crew bios. Who's working on it, you know, who's the producer, the director, the main above the line people already attached.
Target market.
Target market, yep. Who do we
Synopsis.
plan to market this to? Target audience, target market. You know, in film, it's pretty much the same thing, but who are we planning to sell this to? Who do we think is going to like it when we make it? Some other stuff you want to
Wait, I
add
just did
are
one.
stuff like, oh, go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
the episodes.
I was gonna say, yeah, story beat or episode, like the beginning, middle, end.
Yeah, so we're doing a pitch deck. So we said synopsis already. So that would be
Okay.
the similar
Episode.
thing. Like on a show Bible, you want to do the
There's a big
episodes.
difference, because you break down the main plot, which is the synopsis, and then you put like the beginning, middle, and end. First,
No, the log line is what you're thinking, I think. The log line is like the little one sentence overview. And then the synopsis is like breakdown of, it can be short or long depending on the pitch deck. I've seen multiple, but they can be act 1, act 2, act 3.
oh,
Like
okay,
that.
that wasn't true.
The world.
The world, yeah.
yeah.
Like the what world, what does it look like? What does it feel like? The mood or the world.
Mood book. Is that okay?
Yeah, mood board. Like it could definitely be in there
Board,
to show off.
what is it compared to?
Similar projects. So that could be, this is like this meets that, and then it gives a easier idea of what this film is in a split second.
Website.
Website information, probably email too and stuff like that. Yep.
Oh, contact information. Yes. Most important.
Contact information. Yeah, that's what it is. Website, contact info.
Did we say like about the writer, like this, like giving backstory about the actual writer?
Yeah, crew bios.
Okay, thank you.
Any posters?
Key art or concept art. Yep, definitely.
The time, like your schedule, like the time that you shoot, your schedule.
Shooting schedule or like how many shoot days. Yes. That can be definitely one of the things. Time, feet, how long it is, the length, how many pages.
Oh, yeah, I think the other thing was, I think Gabe kind of covered in his pitch deck, which I really liked, was the world.
Mood board, yeah.
No, not the mood board, but I think more the world that.
The storyboard.
The world building part.
Yeah, the world building, right? Exactly.
Mhm.
How would I
The
word it?
virtual world.
I
Yeah,
or-
agree. I
that
just
on
don't know how to word it.
Word it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll just put world.
World.
Story world, I guess.
I thought it was pretty good. Especially if you have like a virtual world, right? That you're placing the story in. That would be like the script that you had in your last session. That the AI script that would
Oh,
be
yeah.
a world, completely different world. So you have to, I guess, mention that. I would think.
You have to kind of show it and explain it. Yeah, definitely. Because otherwise they're going to be lost. You try explaining Mad Max and you just think it's just like you're living in New York. It's like, no, you need to explain the world.
Mhm.
That would be some
It's
interesting chases in New York.
Let's see.
A lot of
Okay,
permits,
another thing you
too.
might want to add is like the theme, the color palette, the overall theme. So maybe just like one main theme that you have, even if there's multiple themes within the film. The main theme, main message of the film, and then the color palette. You might want to add that.
And then, like we spoke of,
Marketing plan. Also the distribution plan, if you have one, financing plan. And you wouldn't share the entire thing, of course, you would just share like little snippets of it. Plan to get, have like 100% meter and then show which parts are going to who for a finance plan. And we're going to try to market to these platforms because our target audience is this, that kind of thing. Yeah, does anyone else think of anything else? I think we did pretty good. And obviously, just like with key art, you want to make sure that the font style you're choosing matches the film and matches the pitch deck. It's also easy to read.
yeah, we mentioned contrast and stuff, right?
Yeah, you want to make sure that it's not on a background that's going to make. I can't read this one in the middle on that bottom left. It's pretty hard to read. So, but the rest of this, I'd say, is really good looking. It's just, that I would say they needed to make it white or make the background lighter. I don't know, something to make it not be so hard to read. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure there's space. You also want to think about composition and all of that. But yeah, and every pitch deck is going to be different. So some pitch decks might not include some of these things, and that's fine. Not everyone has to be the exact same, but I think we made a pretty good list of things that usually are included. All right, number 10. What does AIDA stand for in marketing? So the first A stands for Does anyone know?
Attention.
Oh, that's
Attention?
close. That's close.
Okay.
But no. It's really close.
Oh, okay.
Advertising?
All right.
Not advertising, nope.
I even forgot. We went through this.
It's similar to attention. We're trying to, it's about trying to get people's attention, but it's making them aware of it.
But it's not advertising.
Awareness. No, it's not advertising.
Awareness. Okay.
Awareness. So it's making everybody aware that this thing exists. For us, you know, for us as filmmakers, we're using like our key art, our trailer, we're shoving that out there and we're trying to, this applies to those things because we're trying to make sure that people are aware that we have created this film in the first place. There's a film out there that we made, make people aware about it, of it. All right. So first the letter was awareness. Now I. What would the I stand for? After you get people's awareness, now that they're aware of the project.
Interaction?
No,
Like I said,
that's something, but it's later down pretty much.
like I said, this one was like one of the ones that I was like, crap, I don't remember this one.
Yeah, terms are
Inference?
definitely hard.
Inference?
Interest?
No, inference or interest.
It is interest. Did you say inference?
Interest. You said interest.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, yeah, interest, like we're trying to get them interested in this project. So now that they're aware, they see the key art, you know, they glanced at it as they're scrolling. We want to try to get them interested in it by making it look unique, making it have the things that are going to make people want to watch it, you know, and that way that we gain their interest. Now they're kind of interested in, what is this? And then now it goes on to the letter D. What would D stand for?
Design.
Want to take a jab at it?
Design.
Distribution?
Design. That's design.
It's not design, but good guess.
Oh, okay.
Distribution, it's not distribution either, but good guess. That's it. You're jumping a few steps.
Told you, Todd.
That was a guess.
First, we make them aware. Then we hope that they get interested in it. And then the D stands for
Desire.
Good job, yeah, desire.
Damn, no, cool, damn.
Now we want them to desire
Yeah,
to
to go on
see
the-
it. We
on
want
the
them to
social
really
show.
actually want
Game
it.
show.
Just putting out a solid shape.
Yeah, so we make them aware that we have it out there in the first place. We hope that they get interested in it. And then we hope that after they look at it more or after they research into it more from their interest in the film, that they then desire to see it. They want to see it when it comes out. And so that leads us to the last letter, A. The second A stands for, anyone want to take a guess?
Is it the one I said before, but you said no?
Which one did you say?
I'm not saying it.
Sorry, what was it, Vish?
Act or action?
Action, yep. We want them to take the action to view the film on a streaming service, to download it, to rent it, to go buy a ticket. Whatever action they need to take to see it, we want them to do that action. And that is what AI stands for in marketing. Great job, guys. And also it applies to other things like newsletters and, you know, whatever you're putting out there, you want to make sure that you are thinking about, well, this is what your goal is to get them aware of it, get them interested in it, make them want the thing, make them desire it, and then make them take the action to actually do that. So you want to be thinking about, how can I make them aware? Well, that's usually with advertising. How can I make them interested? That's good messaging and good quality messaging or good quality images or key art or trailers or whatever it may be that you're pushing out there. You want to make sure it's good quality and that it represents your product. Of course, this applies with the target audience. We make sure that we're getting the target audience aware of it because they are the ones who are going to be interested in it. And so when they become aware of it, they will then hopefully be interested in our project based on our findings of who that target audience would be. And then you want them to want the thing. You can't really do anything about that. They're going to get interested and they're going to either look into it further or they're going to be an impulse and kind of skip that step and go right to action. But for the action, what you can do is make it easy for them to know where they can watch it, how they can watch it, if they have to buy tickets, if they have to rent it or whatever. You want to make sure it's easy for them to do and easy for them to find so that they can take that action. All right, we actually talked about this a few times already, but I'm going to go ahead and read this out and then we're going to say what this is. A pragmatic paleontologist touring an almost complete theme park on an island in Central America is tasked with protecting a couple of kids after a power failure causes the park's cloned dinosaurs to run loose. So based on that, does anyone want to take a guess of what the film is, first of all, that is describing?
A film with robotic dinosaurs. That's hard. There's a bunch of those.
It's a robot. It's a cloned.
Same difference.
No.
No, the way that they looked in the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Might as well have been.
Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Another
Yeah, it's Jurassic Park.
Okay.
They did sort of look like the
They did.
robots in the movie. Because it's old.
It was the second. There were a couple of them. There was another one.
Oh,
That
yeah, it was
had
like
the
7 of them,
claw.
right? Because they revamped it, or they whatever it's called, remade it.
Because he had took the idea to open up his own park, and that's when he included the clones, and then hell broke loose.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is a short 1 to 2 sentence description of a film called? What would that
Log
be?
line.
Log line.
I
Yep.
did that the other day.
It is a log line. So when creating these short log lines, what are some things you should add to make them more memorable? I guess instead of should, what are some things you could add to make them more memorable? Because not every single log line needs every piece that makes it memorable. Because not every project works for, if some characters aren't as important, then you don't want to put them in, things like that. But
A unique event.
yep, unique event
Something.
or the what did you call it yesterday?
What?
Unique event. There's another word for it.
I said it yesterday.
Man. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think what that
In conflict.
conflict. Yeah, the conflict.
Oh. Oops. I use that word a lot. Dang it, I should remember.
Yeah, you definitely want to share what the main conflict is, because conflict creates interest, because it's interesting to see, oh, this person's trying to do this thing, but they can't because there's this conflict in the way. Obstacles, conflict, such and such. Anything else, you guys?
A unique storyline.
Hopefully your script has that.
True.
But yeah, I'll say I guess that would be the overarching story.
Yeah. Okay.
Needs to be about the main character or the main, like, at least like 1 to 2 characters, like the main ones.
Yeah, the protagonist, definitely. So for a
I don't know, plot
protagonist,
twist,
there's
I'm
usually
sorry.
something. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. A plot twist.
Only, not really. You don't want to put that in a log line because it usually will be out of context, and it won't, if you're giving away the information in the log line itself, it'll be less enticing for somebody to read further into it. So the log line, the main point of the log line is to get investors or audience's attention to go, huh, that sounds interesting. Let me read the script, or let me get a treatment, or let me call this person, or let me go see that film. So if you're giving away the twist, which, you know, a lot of trailers actually do now, that actually makes less people want to see it because they feel like they've already seen the film.
Yet they still do it. Yep.
They do it. They do it all the time. Like,
It's
well,
not just
obviously he's
one-
alive. They showed him in the trailer.
Like B-rated movies or C-rated movies, because sometimes that would be even more of a draw. To be like, oh, I already know what it's about. You know, so if I like it, I'll see it because it was, you know, a smaller budget film.
Yeah,
But now it's
every movie.
yeah.
But so with a protagonist, there are things you can do to make them more memorable. Most, like in this log line of Jurassic Park, pragmatic paleontologist. It's not a guy or a 30-year-old man, or however old he's supposed to be. It's not something that's generic. It's still broad, but it is specific to that character. He's pragmatic. That's his main personality trait. And his profession, he's a paleontologist. So put those two together, and now we have a better idea of who this character is with 2 words. Instead of a man touring an almost complete theme park, that's not going to be as memorable. So with the protagonist, adjective that describes their main personality trait and their profession. Another thing I would say to add is specific wording. So basically kind of on the same lines of that, like with adjectives and for the personality trait and the profession. But you also want to use very specific, detailed wording to clearly communicate what it is, protecting the kids instead of taking care of or looking after or, you know, whatever else. Protecting is a very specific word, which gives us a very clear view of what he's doing. He's protecting them from the park's clone dinosaurs. So you want to make sure that your wording is specific and clearly communicates what it is while also being interesting, which is very hard to do, which is why log lines are hard to make, hard to do well.
Making the theme relatable. The theme, having a relatable theme.
You can, but only if that is actually in the film itself. If it's something that isn't really relatable, if it's not the main draw of the story, then I would say maybe not put it in the log line, because it's only one sentence, so you have to be very brief. But yeah, if there's something relatable and it's something that's going to draw people to the film, then you would definitely add it. Relatable element, if any. What else did I say? Oh, central conflict or antagonist. If there's an antagonist of the story, then usually you'll want to put them in there if they're one of the main things. If the conflict is other stuff going on, like in Jurassic Park, it's not the conflict of the park owner, it's more about the conflict of escaping dinosaurs that are running loose. So they don't add the antagonist in, even though he is technically there, he's not the main draw or the main element of the story, so they leave him out. So you want to add the antagonist only if they're a main, one of the main points of the film, or one of the main things that cause conflict. Other than that, does anyone else have anything to add for this? I think that's all I could come up with.
I think you did a pretty good job. I told you I really, really liked, how, for me, at least from what I've seen, every semester these get better and better.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next. 3.
So, can I just mention, did anyone else notice that he totally fumbled the first question and accidentally put the answers in it? Or was it the second question? The one with the
Oh, if you guys actually had looked at the thing I sent everybody, like when I sent it, I had the answers in here. I was like, given in parentheses at the end
in parentheses out there.
Yeah.
as I was writing them.
And I was like,
I noticed.
B noticed. Yeah, you got the answers already. I was like, oh crap, that was supposed to be the answer sheet.
Cheat notes.
All right, 3 V's of communication. You guys can look over this picture. I'm going to read out question 13. What are the 3 V's of communication? They stand for 3 words that start with a V.
I'm not going to.
Do you know?
I do know 2 of them, but we already went through them.
Name one then.
So visuals.
Visual. Yep, that's one.
Let someone else do the rest. We already went through these yesterday.
I passed.
He said you'll pass. You guys don't want to guess? Come on, it's just 3 words that start with a V. It's a way we
Voice?
communicate.
Voice? Your voice?
Yeah, it's vocal, but that is
Voiceover?
basically the same. It's like the way we say things. Vocal.
Okay.
Visual is what our body language, our facial expressions, the way we're moving, how we're dressed, how those things communicate to people. Vocal is how we're saying things. And then there's one more. If you don't want to say the actual word, you could guess like the other form of communication. So there's the way we look when we're saying it, there's how we say it, and then
I know what it is.
Good.
I don't know
Game stuff.
you know what it is. Like, do you know like
Is it what I'm thinking.
I don't know, say it.
Is that it?
What? Say it. I can't hear you. Who cares? That's what this is all about. It's guessing.
It's vocal, visual, and
So there's the how we look when we say it, how we sound when we're saying it, and the most basic one, not meaning it's easiest to know, but it's the most basic of the 3 ways of communication, because without this one, the other 2 wouldn't exist.
Volume? No.
No, because that goes with vocal.
Yeah, we're vocal.
how we look, how we sound. How do you just do it?
All right, I'll just say it. Verbal. Verbal. It's the actual words
thinking
we
that.
say.
But isn't that vocal inside? That's what I
No,
said.
you
was
said
thinking
vocal.
that.
Vocal is how we sound.
Yeah,
Verbal
that's
is the
what I
actual
thought.
words. What?
Right? Oh, I'm
I thought
thinking that.
verbal was vocal.
But it was too easy.
Verbal and vocal are different because verbal is the actual words I'm saying. And then vocal is how I'm saying it, how loud I'm speaking, my pitch, whether I'm saying it like when we're asking a question, the verbal is the same, whether we're saying it as a question or as a statement. But the way we say it, the vocal changes, and we say like, do you guys know? So do you guys know?
Mhm.
And then the visual is how we look while we're saying it. So all three of those together make the 3 V's of communication. Also, vocal is about pauses you take. You know, if you say a lot of ums and uhs and when you're speaking, because that if you're trying to say that you're confident, but you're saying a lot of ums and uhs and you're stuttering and you're looking at the floor, then it's not going to really seem like you're confident, which actually leads into the next question. Question 14, do all 3 V's, do visual, vocal, and verbal, need to be sending the same message for clear communication?
Yeah. Obviously. But you made a face that made me.
No, yes,
doubt
you're
your
right.
existence.
I just glanced. I'm not making a
I'm
face.
just kidding.
Yes, they do. If I am, like I just said, if I'm trying to say that I'm confident, but I'm saying a lot of ums, uhs, stuttering, looking at the ground, the verbal, the words I'm saying, say I'm confident. The way I look, the visual, my body language says I'm not. And the way I'm speaking, if I'm mumbling, if I'm stuttering, if I'm, adding a lot of ums and uhs and kind of unsure sounding, then that is going to work against my message, which is supposed to be, I am confident. So that is why these need to work together. If a wife says, did you cheat on me? And the guy looks down, says, no, honey, I would never cheat on you. The look down kind of gives her the idea that maybe he's lying, and it's not sending clear communication that he did not. And so that was just an example. That would never happen with us. But but
Make
the
that
way
very
you say
clear.
it, yeah, I'm trying to make that clear because you guys can't see the way I'm saying it, which is also leading into, because phone calls, they have the verbal and the vocal, you miss out on the visual. So it makes it harder to understand exactly what people are saying. Texting, even harder, because all we have is the verbal. That's why when somebody texts you or you text somebody else and you get mad or they get mad and they're like, what's going on? What's the big deal? I didn't mean that way. It's because you read it in a different way of how they said it, because we
And
can't.
It's very annoying, isn't it?
It happens all the time.
Yeah, because you read it in whatever tone your brain is reading it. It can be completely different than how the person's saying.
Yeah. And so they can take it as, oh, you're just being really rude, you're attacking me, you're doing that. And it's like, no, I was just commenting. I wasn't meaning anything by it. So best communication, which is why pitch meetings exist instead of just doing it over the phone, is because these 3 forms of communication help people understand the message you're sending out, but only if they're all working towards the same message. Only if your body language is saying what your actual words are saying and how you're saying it sounds to be what you're actually saying. Number 15, 100% would equal a very clear message being communicated. 55% of that 100% is weighted to one of these, whether it's visual, vocal, or verbal. 38% is going to be one of the other ones, and only 7% is weighted to the last one. So one is clearly a lot more important than the other 2. The other one is still a lot more important than the last, and the last is actually not as important as you might think. Out of those, which V belongs to each of these percentages? So basically, visual, vocal, verbal. Which one do you think is 55% of the message that's communicated? Is it the visual, the vocal, or the verbal?
I think
Visual.
the visual.
Visual, yeah. It's body language, it's eye contact, it's, all the little tiny minute details that people pay so much attention to, that we get a message from somebody by seeing what they look like when they're saying it. 38, and that's another reason why phone calls are hard, because now you're missing out on the visual. 55% of a clear message is wiped out. All you have is 45% left, which is why there can be misinterpretations over the phone as well as online and other things. All right, moving on from that though, 38%. Which one is more important than the other, vocal or verbal?
Which one is more important on
Verbal.
Nope, it's actually vocal. Verbal isn't as
Okay.
important as vocal. The way we sound while we're saying it
Yeah, that's
is more
right.
important than what we say.
The words.
Yeah, so the words we say, the actual words we choose and how we choose to say them and structure them, and the specific words we use to say something don't actually mean as much as the way we're saying it and the way we look while we're saying it. The words we use only amount to 7% of a clear message being sent, which is why if you're saying something but you looking down, you're stuttering, you're mumbling, you're not speaking very loudly, that message is going to seem like the opposite of what this verbal is giving out. And it's also why it's super important to choose your wording carefully if you are doing texting or email to somebody of business. Like if it's just a friend, it's still important, but it's not as important as a email trying to pitch to somebody, or a text message to somebody that might be able to get you in touch with somebody to pitch to, or to get an investor or whatever. Those are super important to figure out how to say it, what exact words to use to try to send as clear of a message as possible, because that's all there is in texting or email. We don't have vocal, we don't have visual, we just have the verbal. And so you have to be very clear as possible, even more so than you would be in person. And it's also why it's easier to for people not to miscommunicate what you're saying, or to misunderstand what you're saying, I mean, because even though the words might not be exactly what you mean, your visual, your body language, your eye contact, and the way you're saying it makes it clear to understand to the person, like, oh, you're saying this. And then you can say, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, those are the 3 B's of communication. Great job, people.
Is that ironic?
What? Is that ironic? Because the way I said it didn't sound like it.
Yeah, people.
Great job, people. Nah, it's just gotta move on. All right, the image above sort of relates to what this is. Well, I mean, it does, but number 16, what is the type of marketing where you get somebody with a following to help promote your film? You know?
Sorry, what?
What is the type of marketing where you get someone with a following to help promote it?
Influencer marketing.
Influencer marketing. Yep. There's people, we call them influencers. They have followings online on any platform. It can be any size of a following. And influencer marketing is specifically trying to get them to promote the thing to their followers. So it's using their fan base, it's using their followers to get them to spread the word quicker than you could on your own. All right, next question. What is what is test screening and why is it done? So let's tackle the first part. What is test screening?
I'm waiting.
Testing a scene that you wrote on the audience to see whether you want to keep the, like, if you want to keep this a scene or not. You want to test screen it first to see if they, what their interests are, and if they're interested in a storyline.
Well, if I remember correctly, test screenings would be the whole film, like a version of the whole film.
Yeah, usually it's there might be where they do scene by scene, but from the most part, I believe it is for the whole film. And it's about scenes where it's like, maybe we'll drop this scene because people don't like it.
Yeah, that's
But they usually don't put together a test screening for a scene alone, because that's a lot of effort and money for
But
just
they
one
do-
part of a film.
However, they do have like, I have heard of people where they will have like lists that they give you, like, were any scenes did you think were unnecessary, or that you think
But everything else you said, Gabe, was right. It's about the if people are interested in it. You know, if you have two separate endings that you might be doing, which ending is making people like the film more? Or, you know, is there any scenes, like Priscilla just said, like, is there anything that about this film you don't like? And you're trying to gauge the interest of the audience that come and see it in this test screening to see if this film needs to be improved or changed at all before it's finally released. So the why it's done, you know, we pretty much answered that part too. Good job, Gabe. Said gauge the interest of people. Another reason why it's done, and another thing you can get out of it, is you can further narrow down or change if you find that your target audience is different from what you initially thought, or if your target audience is who you thought, but now you can narrow it down a little further based on who liked it. So test screening for major films, they usually have different audiences and styles of audience, ages, ethnicities, locations of where they're from, and whatever else, to figure out who's liking it, who's not. And we believe that this age group is going to like it. So we're going to test these two age groups and see, are we right? Is it younger audience based or is it older audience based? And then from the findings, we'll maybe change what we thought before if we're wrong. Oh, we didn't think the older people were going to like it, but they do. They like it better than the younger people. Interesting. We thought it was going to be the younger audience. And then they might further test it to see, okay, is it actually old audiences or is it just that one? Until they come to a conclusion of who that target audience is based on their findings. But the other reason it's done is exactly what Gabe said, just to see if they are interested in the film, to see if it's holding people's attention, to see if there's anything that needs to be changed, updated, adapted, taken out, to make the film better if anything is not working. All right. What is a target market or a target audience for a film?
All right. It's the audience you're going to focus most of your marketing and like interest efforts on. All right. Can I explain that?
You're looking to sell, yeah. You're looking to sell.
What's your marketing? What'd you say? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, V.
Sorry, Priscilla, what were you saying? Or,
Oh
sorry.
no, Coda was asking something. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, just the group of people that you are like mainly focused on to buy your product, to buy your movie, to buy whichever you're marketing to.
Yep. Yep. It's the people that you believe are the ones who are going to like this product. That are going to like, for us as filmmakers, the ones who are going to like the film. Who's this film made for? And we're trying to figure that out, and trying to do market research to find our target audience, to come up with one, because we need to narrow it down. If you're trying to market to everyone, you're going to find it's a harder time than marketing to who you really believe will like that film, will like that product. So target markets or target audiences are finding that group, you know, and it's there's a bunch of different parts to it. There's geographic, where do they live? Is that going to influence it? You know, maybe only people in the United States are going to like this, or maybe nobody in the United States likes it, but other countries, maybe a lot of Asian countries are going to like this, or South American countries are going to like this, or whatever, because the story or the characters really will be relatable to people from those places because it's based in a place like that. And so maybe the US American audience won't really understand it as well, or won't grasp to it or be interested in it as much as somebody from somewhere else. There's also age. There's different demographics like age, ethnicity, what else? What am I thinking? Age, ethnicity, gender, and obviously the big ones that separate who will like it, who won't. Is this movie made for women? Is it made for men? Is it made for white Americans? Is it made for Black Americans? Is it made for Asian? Is it made for South American? And some of those are based on the characters that are in it, the style of movie it is. Asian countries, you might say that they like stuff like, movies like Godzilla do really well in Asian countries. They like movies like that. They like movies with big monsters, big robots, big things like that. So if you have a movie like that, you might say, oh, we're targeting them more than we're targeting someone else, because those audiences, people from those locations or Asian people in separate countries, like it more than most other people most of the time. So you kind of have to make some assumptions based on evidence that you have found for each project in the past that are similar. And then there's also the interest of the people. It might have nothing to do with race, gender, or age. It might have to be with people who are interested in this kind of film, people who like sci-fi, people who like monster horror sci-fi, whatever it could be. You'll find that there are, from multiple different races, multiple different age groups, multiple different countries like this same thing. And so you might target that group of people, group them like that. And then there's behavioral. Once you find your target audience, your target market, you'll say like, oh, my target audience is very impulsive. They buy things right off the bat. So you'll make things based on your marketing. You'll try to entice them to quickly purchase a ticket. And for a film, that would be stuff like key art in the trailer. Make sure that that is top notch, because if our target audience is very if they oh man, I just had a brain fart. If they are very impulsive, then we want to make sure that the first thing they see is top notch so that they jump right into buying that ticket. We went over AI they'll go from aware to action because they see it. And so we want to make sure that we target them with these things that are the best. Whereas if we find that their behaviors of our audience they do a lot of research, we want to make sure that, yes, we want to make sure it's good, the key art and the trailer and all that, but we also want to make sure that the other pieces of marketing are just as good or better, depending on what kind of audience we have. And so you kind of just narrow it down until you find your target audience, who you think is going to like it best. It's going to be 18 to 34-year-old males living in Asian and South American countries, and they like this kind of film. And so then, you're just taking a group, making it smaller and smaller and smaller until you eventually find what you believe to be the target market or the target audience. For independent film marketing, is it normally better to have a broad target audience or a narrow one?
Narrow.
Or, go ahead.
Yeah. Narrow. Do you want to explain why?
I wouldn't do it.
I was asking Gabe.
Oh, okay. No, it's easier. It's easier to keep that audience updated with through their interest at a smaller scale, because you could reach them, because you have the accessible your immediate audience. You want to reach your immediate audience first.
Mm-hmm.
like your followers already, like, you know, people that are already that are in the network, and they're easier to want to support your cause
Yeah, because it's
before the
easier to
after the
reach
movie,
them. It's
before
easier
the
to market to them, to get the word out to them specifically, because you know who they are and you know how to reach them. You want to explain more, honey? You want to got any more to add, or Vish, on why it's more important for an independent film to have, usually for an independent film to have narrow marketing or niche audience?
Well, there's also the factor of competition, right? If you cater to that more niche audience, it's more likely than not you'll stand out more in the crowd than if you're going for those huge blockbuster audiences. Like, you'll get swallowed up.
Yeah, because there's a lot more stuff trying to vie for that person's attention.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot broader. Another thing is we have limited funding when we are an independent film. So when we're marketing, we have to be very efficient with it. And if you have a broad target audience, it's hard to market to them because you have to market to so many different types and groups of people. Whereas if it's more narrow, if you can find that smallest, like the best audience member, and then broaden it out from there. This person, this one who likes this type of film with these elements, that is this age, that lives in this place, that is this ethnicity and this gender, or is couples or parents, or grouping them in whatever category works for the film. You want to find like the best audience member that would be, and then go a little broader out from there to find your core or your niche or narrow target audience. Because when you are trying to spend the money to advertise to people, it's a lot easier to know, oh, most of my target audience spends time on this website, this platform, these times of day. They like these kinds of film. They like very poppy, colorful key art. All of your marketing elements will revolve around who your target audience is. What kind of stuff do they like? Is it a film that is going to appeal to people who used to watch films back in the 80s? Because you might want to make a poster that's kind of in the realm of what the 80s film posters look like, for that nostalgia factor, and also just to be relevant to what your film is and who you're marketing it to. Whereas if you're marketing more of a modern one to younger audiences, you want to make sure you're keeping up with the modern techniques and styles and whatever else, because you're marketing to them and that's the style they're used to. So all of these elements will come into play, and it's easier to figure out what those elements should be when it's a narrower target audience. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
That you're doing a really corny dance right now?
What? I'm not. Priscilla's right next to me, so I'm just annoying her. All right, next question. What is a newsletter used for?
To update your audience, to keep them engaged, to have a personalized place to communicate with your audience specifically, like people that are specifically interested in certain, like those specific aspects of your film or of your company, of you as a creator, that kind of thing, as opposed to social media that's a little more broad.
I'd also say it's a place, like you were saying with the audience thing, to make it like more of a community feeling instead of just social media. Someone's following a page, now they're subscribed to this newsletter, they know what's going on in this very niche company, and so it's making like this community of other people who are also interested in this company, and now they can talk about it, or they can talk to the company itself, and so they're also used for that. But yeah, keeping your audience or your fan base updated and engaged on what you're doing, whether it's for you or your company or just a specific film and how the film's coming along and whatever else. A newsletter is to update them, keep them engaged, and keep them reminded of that thing, or you as a creative, or the project you're trying to work on, or your production company and what's next and all of that. What are some ways you can get people to sign up for a newsletter?
Exclusive content, obviously.
Coupons.
What was that?
Coupons.
Coupons, yeah. You could say like you get some kind of percentage off of a film or whatever, or merchandise if you're selling film merchandise, if you sign up for this newsletter. Other things you can do is you can give out free gifts. You can say whether it's like a free, like, for instance, if we're trying to get people to sign up for a newsletter for LCloud MediaStudies, I could say, oh, and we'll also give you a free template of one of these forms we made during our semester, blah, blah, blah. And then if you sign up for the newsletter, you get a free download link with that thing if you are trying to use whatever form it is. You can also send actual gifts, but that would be more expensive. So usually people stick with the, usually smaller companies stick with just like downloadable free things. I would say another way you can get them to sign up for a newsletter is by reminding them that you have one. You know, every social media post you do, oh, if you want to know more, or if you'd like to see more from us on your website, make sure to mention it, make sure it's clearly visible and easy to subscribe to. On your social media, make sure that the posts that relate to it, you mention it again. Like I just said, like, oh, if you'd like to see more on this, we update people with a newsletter every month. Keep people reminded about it. I would also make it easy to subscribe to it and easy to find. Anyone else have anything?
Be the first to know of things like early access.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Early access to information. You'll be the first to know when a film's released. But yeah, all right, let's move on. Moving on from that, number 22. What are keywords and why are they important?
For the Google search.
What was
For your
that?
Google search? No, for the Google search.
Yeah, so for search engines specifically, it's just
Search
like
engine.
any search engine, Google being the main one, obviously. But yeah, it helps those platforms find the content. So keywords specifically, they are the words that are used to describe the page. They are usually the ones that are kind of mentioned the most in a page, because if you're talking about a certain thing like studying film and you're trying to find a blog that talks about studying film, then those words, studying film or studying filmmaking or some variation on those words, is probably going to appear a few times within the entire article or blog or whatever it may be. So the keywords are those specific words or phrases that a platform like Google uses to try to find the best match for the search query. which is the person who's putting in a question or putting in a search into Google. They're trying to find a page that is most relevant to what they're trying to learn. And so Google looks up, oh, they're looking up what are the best websites for learning filmmaking, and they're going to match best film websites or whatever variation on that sentence to the page that has those keywords in different variations and is talking about that thing. And that's why keywords are important, to make sure that your stuff is visible, make sure your stuff gets found easily. Any search that's looking for the study of filmmaking finds your content because you have used those keywords so much in so many variations. And again, keywords aren't just one word. Normally, they are more than one word because one word keywords are really hard. They have a lot of competition. Whereas studying independent filmmaking, that is a bit more specific, and that can be a keyword, even though it's technically 3 words. It's a keyword phrase. So, but yeah, keywords are important for people to find the content. What does SEO stand for, and what is it?
Isn't it? Oh,
It's kind of the same. A lot. I mean, it's similar to along the lines of keywords. Keywords is a part of SEO.
yeah.
Search engine optimization.
Boom. Yep. Search engine
And it's,
optimization. That's exactly what it is.
Optimization.
Nice. And what is that?
And it's an API that you put on your on your website. Like when you have your pages, there's the API where you can put in your keywords.
Yeah, that's part of it. So
So
keywords are part of search engine optimization. Another part of it is they're one of the main parts. I don't know, that's arguable, I guess. But I would say keywords are super important for search engine optimization, because if it's not going to match anyone's search, then they're not going to find your website no matter how well designed it is, or your blog post or your post on social media. But another part of search engine optimization is the website design, how good looking it is, if it looks spammy or not. And if it doesn't, then the search engine will, like Google, will want to show that one more. If the keywords are relevant, if the wording is clear, if there's grammatical errors or not, how well designed and professional it seems, as well as how easily it is to navigate through that site. Are there any broken links? Also, are there any external links from other websites that point back to your website, mentioning it? Like, oh, I just saw this website and I loved it. Or if you're doing the best filmmaking websites and you're making a filmmaking website, then if someone else in a different blog or a different article mentions your website and sends a link, that helps with your search engine optimization, because now there's another thing pointing to your web page. And so search engine optimization is all about trying to make the most professional, clean, and easily navigatable, as well as clear, like with the wording and everything, well-designed web page or post or blog, so that the search engines themselves want to showcase your content when somebody's looking something up that is relevant to what is in your web page or blog or post or content or whatever. And that goes with those keywords. That's the last way to, another way to get people interested is, make sure the keywords match. But then they're not going to just, Google doesn't want to give out some post that says filmmaking learning website over and over and over and over again, and that's all it says, because it's trying to get people to that site, because that looks like spam. It probably is. So it'll probably put that lower on the list. Whenever you search on Google or any other search engine, they're like, oh, we found 1 million different pages that match this query. Here's the most relevant. Well, you want to try to get yours to be the most relevant, the most top, because people usually look at the first page and don't scroll to the next, or don't click the next one, or whatever it is now. So that's what search engine optimization is. It's trying to make it best for a search engine. It's literally just optimizing it for a search engine so that it's higher on the list whenever it is searched. All right, number 24. Why are hashtags important? And how should you use them?
Target marketing. And to
Hashtags
the
are
title
important
of
to
your,
try to reach the target audience, yeah.
and to also to keep people aware of the your product name.
Yeah, that's a good one. To have a universal thing about the film or the product or whatever you're trying to have, production company, and keep that universal across all your posts. They're important for people to be able to find that thing. It's kind of like it goes along with keywords in a way where it will help people to easily find that kind of content if they're looking for it. So if you have hashtag independent film and somebody's looking for independent films, it helps them find it easier, especially if they're on a platform that uses hashtags. Then there are subcategories where you can kind of subscribe to or follow certain hashtags. So when a new post comes up with that hashtag, they see it. Also, it helps for the social media apps and websites and everything else to, they kind of like view what the people look at. So if I go on Facebook and I say I like this film and that film and whatever, they're going to think, oh, he likes films. So we're going to show him more films. Everything that's with a hashtag film or hashtag something about film, we're going to try to show him that and see if he likes it because he seems to like film. And so another reason hashtags are important is it helps to narrow down those advertising type things to get people to see it more, or to get those platforms to show your stuff to the people who like that kind of thing. Another thing is just like what Vish said, Gabe said. He said that the keeping it universal across the board of all your posts. That way, if somebody is specifically looking for your project or your thing, they can find that hashtag and then find every single post or thing you've done with that hashtag so that they can see all the photos, all the posts, and all the different things about that certain hashtag. So if it's about a certain film and they want to learn more, they can just search that hashtag and find every single time you've posted using it. So it's easier to keep everything in one place. How should you use them? You should use them in a way that is going to represent your post, represent your film or your production company or yourself as a filmmaker. You should keep them short and memorable. Make sure they're relevant to whatever it is, again, the post or the company, that they're easy to understand. You want to use them so that they make sense. And you want to keep them consistent if it's that overarching hashtag that is going to be the film itself or your company. And on certain platforms, you want to use a lot of them. And on other platforms, you want to use very few or only one of them with each post. And that's because different platforms are made for different things. And not everyone likes 100,000 hashtags. Not every platform likes 100,000 hashtags. And so you have to research that and see what each platform would be better as. Like, would it reach more people if I use 3 hashtags on this platform or 1? Or would it be better if I use 10? And each platform will have a different answer. The other thing is that the hashtags need to be written in a way that somebody is going to say something, specifically your target audience. So how do they say something? If you're saying, you want to give an example, honey?
I suck at examples.
I know. I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. You're saying something like I'm just going to use what we used earlier in the semester, childhood memories, or you're going to be like thinking like a child, or being a child, or childhood. The specific wording you use is going to change what that hashtag is. And if your audience looks up childhood, but they don't look up being a child, or thinking like a child, then you're not going to get as many people to see it. So you need to make sure you're kind of writing them in the way that your audience would look them up. And that is hard to do, but that's why there's three variations of research, because there's a lot of research you have to do to get successful hashtags for your marketing. All right. So on this, we have something on the left that is skill dominant. There's lower participation due to higher entry barriers. The performance is winning criteria, and it may involve an entry fee. On the right, this thing is luck dominant. It has higher participation due to lack of entry barriers, so it's easy to participate in. The chance is the winning criteria, and it is free, does not involve an entry fee. Which of these is a sweepstakes, and which of these is a contest?
The sweepstakes normally has an entry fee, right?
No.
Or is it the contest that does?
They, I would say neither normally have it.
I've seen some that do.
Yeah, they do. May have. Yeah, so a contest. So which one? So the one on the left, one on the right. Which one's a contest?
Let me see. Oh, the contest is on the left
Yes.
because performance, obviously. The other one is a sweepstakes, which means you don't, or you shouldn't judge on performance. It should be random.
Correct. Oh, I spelled it right wrong. I spelled it really wrong. All right. So yeah, the contest is on the left. The sweepstakes is on the right. Contest, skill dominant. You have to have, it's a contest. You're competing against other people for something. You're doing some kind of thing to win. And so you have to have the skill of whatever it is to win that contest. Lower participation. There's not as many people that do it because it takes effort. They have to, they have to do whatever it is in the contest. If it's a contest to see who wrote the best script, then the people have to write a script. Not as many people are going to do that, and so you're going to have less people participate. Performance is the winning criteria because the way they wrote it, what it is, what their skill was when they wrote it, that is what wins it. That's the contest. And it may involve an entry fee. Not all contests do, but it could, and that's not, that's just it's not illegal for a contest to have an entry fee. On the right, we have the sweepstakes, luck dominant, because it's based on chance. It's random draw. Higher participation due to lack of entry barriers, because more people, it's easy to do. All they have to do is click a button, or all they have to do is
And
Yeah, I know. All they have to do is click a button. All they have to do is click a button, or all they have to do is sign a little form, give their email, whatever it may be. There's going to be higher participation because it's super easy. And they're like, sure, I'll take the chance at winning whatever this prize is, $100,000, $10, an Xbox, whatever it may be. And it is free. It does not involve an entry fee. It never involves an entry fee, or it shouldn't. And that actually leads into 26. So what can happen if you don't abide by the rules and laws of a sweepstakes? Not necessarily like the consequences, more of like, what does this turn into? What does a sweepstakes turn into if you don't abide by the rules and laws of creating a sweepstakes?
scam.
Disqualification. You'll be disqualified.
But if you are the one creating it,
The law, you'll get in trouble.
yeah, you could get in trouble. You could definitely get in trouble because it turns those sweepstakes into something else.
It's in that's true.
Betting.
Betting, yep. Betting, or it is there's a specific word. Does anyone know?
I said scam.
Some people buy $2 tickets to
Lottery.
it. Yeah. Yeah, so
Oh,
if you don't abide by the rules and laws of a sweepstakes, it can turn into an illegal raffle or lottery because it has to be free, it has to be easy to do and easy to enter. If you change that and make it cost money and it's based on chance, you don't have any judges, you don't have any criteria for weeding out who's going to win, as in a contest, then it is based on chance and it costs them money, then it is an illegal lottery. And so you have to make sure you're following all the rules and laws, because even in different states, they'll have different rules and laws for their sweepstakes. There's the federal law, there's the state law, and then there's the local law when it comes to sweepstakes and contests. So make sure you look into those things before running one. But yeah, that is what can happen. It can turn into an illegal lottery. And you might not even, you might not have tried to do that at all, but it can happen, and then you can get in trouble because you weren't doing something. You were doing something that you weren't supposed to. All right, last question. Number 26. Well, there's two, but this is part of the same question. What are the 7 P's of marketing, also known as the marketing mix? You guys love that I just keep giving you out letters to fill in the clues, don't you?
I have a seven. I have a seven to just be like,
I can guess the first one. Product.
Product, yep.
Promotion.
Well, promotion,
Promotion.
yep. Man, Gabe's got all the answers to
I'm on
these.
the roll. I'm on the roll. The roll is just stopped.
Product, promotion. What else? When you're marketing, you're trying to market your product, how you're promoting it. What are you promoting on? What are you using to promote with? So those two go into it. And then there's more. If you want to, honey, you should look at it.
Gabe's on a
I'm
roll,
reading.
so I'm letting him,
You should look at it.
I just
Yes, sir.
opted
All right. There's also, if you guys can see it, those are the clues here on the picture.
Price.
Price. That's definitely one. Yep. And how much does this thing cost? And also, are you going to do a half price for the first 50
Promotion.
people? Promotion. Yep. Gabe got that.
What's up? Yeah.
It's hard. There's a lot of words that start with P, but also not a lot of words that start with P.
Yep. That's how words work.
No.
I know.
That was funny though. That was
Performance.
Close. That's a good one. That's a good guess, but no, that's not a one.
Publicity we already did, right? Or something.
Promotion, yes,
same
but
thing.
yeah.
Performance. That's a good.
No, that's a good guess. Vish already
No.
gave it that one.
It's not
Oh
proposal.
yeah, he did. He did. Okay. Okay.
Um,
All right, so let's see if I read some of these. I know.
Personnel.
I'll give you that. I'll say people. People is one of them.
Same difference.
Yep, that's what I said. I'll give you that one. Because
Same difference.
if this was Family Feud, you'd give it to him.
Yeah.
Show me personnel. All right. What about this one on the left? Access, location. Location. Starts with a P. That'd have to do with where it's at.
It's a game show. Hold up. It's a good game show. Hold up.
It's the location.
I know it's the location. I'm trying to find out where it starts with a P.
Location.
Can we have another clue?
I mean, they're all up here. So
I'm looking for them.
where something is at. It's in a certain
Position.
no, but close. Good guess.
No. It's,
Place.
oh my
Ah,
Oh
so
my God, I
under our
didn't-
noses.
It's in a place.
Under our noses.
Oh,
Yeah, I feel the same way.
come on. This is hard. I know it's hard. It's just fun watching.
down when you don't get something that you're like, how the hell did I miss
All
that?
right. Yeah.
You feel so
All right. There's another one. The clues are, let's see.
Which one is
The way-
it? Is it
Sorry, go ahead.
which color is it? Left out.
Oh, which colors are left out? Let me see.
There's only one, right? Oh, that's it. Two.
We got
three.
the green,
Recording services.
the green. We got the blue, dark blue over here on the right. And I think that's it. Don't we have 5? Yeah. So those two are the last ones. All right. So this one starts with a P, and it is the way that something is done. It is the way something is created or handled. It is somebody's
Proliferation.
way of thinking.
What did Fish say?
Proliferation.
Oh,
Just wait.
good guess.
What was his guess?
Preparations.
Well, yeah, preparation is the only thing that I was thinking.
What is my thinking blank? The way I
Process.
boom process.
Okay.
Ah,
It's the process.
That's the
All right, the
process.
last one no one's ever gonna get, so I'll just say it. Physical evidence.
That should not count. That should not count. That is too. That is
Lord knows
That's why I
that.
said no one's ever gonna get that one, because how are you gonna think of that? All right.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's
Yeah,
very
but the
dumb.
main point is to think about these things. So actually these started with this I don't know what to call it. This rule of thumb or whatever, I don't know. Started with 4 P's, and it was the price, the product, promotion, and the process. Then they added 3 additional P's, being people, place. Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't the process. It was place, price, product, and promotion. It was where are you advertising? It was, and where is it available? It was the what is it, the product? You know, what are you promoting? What is this thing? Is it a service? Is it a product? How much does it cost? The price, you know, how much is it? Or is there are you giving a good deal, or are you trying to rob me? And then the promotion, how are you promoting it? Are you giving a promotion out? You know, those kinds of things, but also how are you promoting it? What platforms are you using to advertise on? And are you using photos Are you using words? Are you using video? That's all part of the promotion. And then they added the people, process, and physical evidence. I think people is like, who are you advertising to? That's basically the target audience. Process is, I don't really know what process would be different from promotion. Maybe promotion would then be sales and they split it up.
It's true, more words to complicate.
It could be, or it could be what process do you take? Oh, I know. Because like recently people have become more aware of like stuff like child labor and stuff like cheap labor and whatever else. So what is the process to get this thing to where it is? That could be what process is. Are you using fair value paid employees to
Ethical consumption.
yeah,
is what you're
basically.
looking for. Yeah.
And then physical evidence is for a film, it would be you're saying this film is good, but your key art looks like crap. So I don't believe you. So the physical evidence is, oh, the key art does look good and they're saying it's a good film. I believe them. It could also
So it's
be
basically presentation. It's the same thing.
no, it's not. Because it's also physical evidence of if there's reviews of the film that say it's good, if there's other pieces of information that say that this thing works. People start looking up reviews for products. People look up reviews for films. That's part of the physical evidence. I'm getting promoted that this thing is going to change filmmaking forever. Let me see who else is saying that. Let me look at the physical evidence of this. Is that what other people believe, or is it just this company that believes it themselves or is trying to market it that way anyway?
I see.
You do.
The revenue is a physical evidence.
Yeah.
The revenue. I don't know. Maybe. Not. I would say not really for a film because it wouldn't. Well, I don't know. I guess if you're doing it city to city, revenue wouldn't be price. So it would be physical evidence of, hey, it's making a lot of money. There must be a reason, that kind of thing. So yeah, that would probably fall into it.
Mhm.
All right. So we're actually going to, now that we know product, promotion, price, people, place, process, and physical evidence,
Yep.
light blue on the left, which one is it?
Place.
Place, yep. Whoops.
Which one's left? That's
Oh, he already got it.
Okay.
Purple, top left. So right here. Which one is this?
That's purple.
Process.
Nope,
People.
not process. What'd you say, Vish?
People.
Promotion? No, not promotion.
People, yep. Employees fall into it. Whoops, I'm spelling it.
Partnerships?
No, it's people.
Oh, it's people.
Man, I keep just spelling random things. But yeah, customers, who's looking to buy this product, our target audience. Employees, is their employees speaking out that this is unfair working conditions, or that you are a terrible director, or that the actors suck? That could play a
What about
part.
the movie itself sucks.
Yeah,
Work
because that could
on
play a
sucks.
I'm so glad I'm done with that film. I was cringing the entire time on
That's
set.
so
And you're like, oh no.
Other than that,
This film, even the employees say it sucks. All right. Green, top right. For a film, it would be the key art, the trailer,
Publicity?
reviews.
Publicity? If it's not, it should.
It's one of these P's that we have already, honey.
PE.
What?
Physical evidence.
Yeah. Those things are good. It's physically showing me evidence that this movie might be good. Dark blue on the right. That's right here. Which one is it? We already have place, people, and physical evidence. I'm going to go ahead and There we go. Now you guys can narrow it down.
You know what? This isn't fair to them. I already went through all this with you
Do
yesterday.
you know what it is?
I'm just going to allow
Come on,
them
go ahead.
to-
You've been guessing
The
wrong.
process.
Process, yeah, process.
Guessing right, I just got some wrong.
I know,
Everyone
got
I
it.
know, I'm just joking around. The process. All right, bottom right, the pink right here. You got 3 P's left.
Promotion.
Yep. It's funny how it even says it, other promotional methods.
You're paying attention. It's
If
literally.
you're paying attention. All right, bottom, the yellow.
It's basically product, isn't it? But we already have.
It is product, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought we already put product. That's why I was like,
No, I see I'm marking them yellow, the ones that you've already used.
oh.
All right, what's the last one? One that's orange. Come on, guys, look at the screen.
looking. Every time I zoom in, it like.
It's the only one I haven't
Every
highlighted.
time it
I
zooms in,
know.
it X out. That's why I can't look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, every time it zooms in, it's like blacking out for some reason. So.
Ah, okay, I got you.
You're getting
Price.
priced out.
Not best.
Here we
Come on,
go.
vegan.
Woo! I said, 'cause, come on, it's the only one like you're like, let me check. You're taking a while. I was like, it's right there.
Just
He's
kidding.
all by himself.
There we go. That is the 7 P's of marketing. Great job, everybody. That was
Yay.
I am a child.
all
I am,
right.
I'm such a little kid.
Why? What do you mean?
Every time you say pee, I want to laugh.
The 7 P's? Guy has to go to the bathroom a lot. Is that what you're talking about?
I was like, what is wrong with my brain?
I'm trying not to laugh.
I guess everybody is thinking it. There you go, honey.
Right.
What do you mean, no?
That was like second grade humor. I don't know why I was.
It's like The Simpsons, you know?
Yeah, kind of.
Felt like such
Oh,
All right. Well, the next thing we're talking about is just the entire semester, just semester overview. We're not really gonna like delve too deeply into it, but this semester we've learned about pitching, we've learned about marketing, and we've learned about man, what was the other thing? Oh, script analysis.
that makes me feel bad.
Hey, I'm saying stuff out of my head. It's hard.
Mm.
But yeah, we've learned a lot. The
Excuses.
most we learned, the most I enjoyed learning was about marketing. I feel like it made it so much easier to understand, even though it's incredibly difficult. It made it a lot easier to know that it is possible and to know how to do it and what to look for. And relating it all back to film, how you can use it as an independent filmmaker because you kind of have to market it yourself. So I really liked learning about the marketing aspects of different things. Target audience was super important to learn about. And I would say that my favorite thing to learn about this semester was probably about the key art and posters. I thought that was really interesting looking. Even though it's kind of like with graphic design, it was really cool to look at and talk about.
Mm.
What about you, honey?
I think obviously I had a ton of fun with script analysis. It was just very.
Yeah, that was. I liked how everyone took part in that, like very much more than I thought they were going to.
Yeah. And
Everyone really did dive deeply into script analysis. I thought it was really cool, and we all came up with like variations on different things, which was really interesting to see. Taking the same script and kind of changing what's going on behind the scenes, and that will change what the scene will be.
Yeah, so that was probably the most fun for me, was that. I also just enjoyed learning about marketing in general. I always think it's fun and super fascinating. I follow multiple YouTube channels just about like different company marketing, how they succeed, how they fail, that kind of thing. I find it very fascinating. So that was a lot of fun to study and learn about for me.
All right. Would you guys like to share what your favorite things were, or what you learned that you didn't know before? Or if not, we can just move on.
I enjoyed the process more than everything. I don't know if that's what that it's showing right there, but I just enjoy like really the process, learning the whole process, and how
Oh,
you
you
can
mean
make
like
it
the
easier.
last week when we were talking about, or Monday?
Was it last week? Yeah,
Just going over like the process from beginning to end of filmmaking.
yeah, the whole
yeah.
process. And the scripts, roles and scripts also. Learning the importance of the scripts. So I guess they go hand in hand, the roles and the scripts.
Yeah, I still stick to
That
what we
purple
first
part.
started out saying when we started this group was I think it's important for no matter what part of filmmaking you're trying to do, no matter what role you want to take on, it's important to learn a little bit of everything, at least on a kind of a broad scale. That way you understand what other people are doing, you understand why they're doing it or why it's taking so long, and you also understand how to communicate with them. And if you want to transition to a different role, it's you have a bit of an easier way of doing that. And if you're on an independent film, learning how to wear all those hats is super important, because if anybody doesn't come, or if you don't have the funding to afford a second or third or fifth person that you need for a certain thing, then you kind of have to take it upon yourself to do it. If you don't know how, or you don't have any idea how to do something like maybe production design, it's going to really make the film a lot worse than if you at least know like the general sense of the things that need to go into it, like color and like layout and design and all that stuff that we learned about. So I still stick to it. As a script writer, if you're just trying to do screenwriting, I think it's still important to learn about directing, acting, working with actors anyway, and doing the I'm trying to think. Oh, production design and stuff like that, because all of that's going to be influenced by how you write the script. And so you'll kind of know a little better of how to write it to get it to go to the screen, a little more of how you're writing it, because you're giving out all those clues and the specifics in a way that allows the director and the production designer to take the script and really get those clues with that script analysis. And if you're the director, obviously it's super important to know pretty much everything, because you are leading that team. Same thing with a producer. You need to know how long things take. You need to know when somebody knows something or not is another important thing, I'd say. So this whole process is making it a lot easier for if you're finding a crew, now that you know a little bit about their job, if they don't know that little bit that you know, then you know that they don't really know anything, because you only know a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it also makes it important to like find the right people and to
Be able
know.
to analyze like when someone knows what they're talking about, when they don't, as well as explain to people that do your vision a lot better, instead of always relying on like, oh, this person like is very experienced, but you also, it's good that you know how to communicate with them with the terms that they use, with and explain your vision as well as possible.
Yeah, because we talked about multiple semesters ago cinematography, and there's sometimes a big clash between the cinematographer and a director, because the cinematographer has a vision for how they want it to look, but the director has a vision for how it needs to be for the story. And those can clash a lot of the times. I don't like this framing, I don't like the setup. We'll do it anyway because we need to, this is important to show, you know, the glass before we show her. Why is that important? It looks better this way because it's for the story, you know? So if you didn't know anything about cinematography, if you didn't know anything, and you're just listening to somebody who's worked in it for years, then your film might falter because of it.
Yeah, because you understanding why they're doing what they're doing helps you do what you do better. Because you can work alongside them to get the vision that they want or the idea that they see and complement them better as well. Which is
Yeah, and you
super
can just
important.
understand how to communicate with them more too. So I still
feel like-
stand by that, what we thought when we originally started, and
Yeah.
that's our motto basically.
One of the most fun things for me, because at first I was like, oh, we're talking about this semester, and then I understood that you're talking about overall.
Well, we're only talking about overall because in this semester we did do a brief overview of the whole
No,
filmmaking
yeah, I know.
process.
I was trying to focus on the semester, that's why.
Yeah, go ahead, focus on this semester.
But even like overall, like the last few semesters, learning about, gosh, we learned so much. It's so crazy to think about where we were in the beginning and how little, at least me, especially me, knew, and how much I've learned, and how, like, for me personally, this started, like, of course, I love film, I love learning, it's one of the things that I enjoy, but for the most part, it was a lot about me learning, me having a fun time, but also supporting you. And it just became such a great thing, and I became so passionate about it, and I learned so much, and even things that I didn't think I would be, well, I've always been a little interested, but things that now I can see in such a different way, and I can see all the detail. Like, I've always been interested in costuming and different aspects of, you know, little details in films and that kind of thing. But now I look at it as like in such a completely different way, as far as like the psychology behind everything, the subliminal meanings behind everything, the intentionality behind every little detail. It's just, it makes me appreciate film that much more. It makes me appreciate shows that much more. It makes me look out for those things and just
Notice when they're done right, notice when they're done wrong.
I was always picky as heck. I was already annoying with media before. Now I feel like my brain is just an automatic kind of.
Yeah, me too.
That is.
Yeah,
It's
that
like
is-
I like
can't-
it.
I
I like
can't.
it. I like it because then when it's done well,
Mhm.
I'm just so much more and like, wow, this is so well done.
No, yeah, but it also is annoying when you have family members that maybe you guys can relate to this. When you have family members
Mhm.
that don't study it as much, but it's basic stuff. And if you point out one little thing, it doesn't even have to be like a film nerd thing. It's just a normal thing, like, oh, the acting's bad, or oh, I don't like I don't feel emotional performance, or oh, that in the background you can see, like something small. It's, you don't even have to be a film nerd to know. Now everything is, oh, you study media and film, so of course you're gonna be picky. When? How
Yeah,
does
who do you
that
think you are?
unvalidate?
Right. Yeah.
Because, oh, I have a more deepened interest in it, so therefore I'm picky. Like, yes, but also stupid.
Well, it's
that
also like
it
a lot of
makes
people don't care about this stuff. So
it's stupid
Yeah, I'm
that it negates
hardcore
my
now. It's sad.
opinion, and I'm not allowed to.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not allowed to point
I'm the
out
person you
flaws
don't
in
want to
something.
be with.
When you're watching a film.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
terrible. Like my
You'll pick
my
out
sister,
everything,
I was
man.
talking to I was
It's
talking to
just-
my
it's just
sister
not-
about that. And she said that you can't enjoy a movie the same. It's hard to even watch a movie without you ripping it apart. And I noticed that too.
I used to-
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
it's taking too long to start.
It's just
It took too long to
it's
start.
just that much worse
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I still like it, but I can still point out its flaws. Like, oh, this happened, or oh, it's clear that
Mhm.
learning sound, especially, like I can hear things so much differently
Oh
now.
my gosh, yeah, I was gonna say that. Now I can hear when it's ADR so clearly. It's crazy that I never noticed it before. Like part of me is like, how did I
Automated dialogue replacement.
how did I never notice that this sounds like a completely different recording as opposed to like what they're doing right now, you know?
Yep.
Like
I like doing that. I
sounds
like
so
watching I liked watching the films for those specific things, like watching a film for its sound, watching a film for its production design, and just pointing out those things specifically because it made you really focus on those individual aspects that we were learning each semester.
yeah.
And this one we paid a lot of attention to how they marketed it and how they ran their campaign, which is, it goes along exactly with marketing, but with the rest of the aspects from the previous semesters, it was all about that specific thing to do with the story or the film and the
But it's so crazy. It's like the only thing that I can compare it to is if you've ever seen How I Met Your Mother, there's this one episode. You guys have known. I like more like serious, like people centric media. But basically, there's this one episode that I think encapsulates my feelings perfectly. You know which one I'm talking about? About the glass breaking?
oh right, yeah.
So basically, there's this one thing where they're talking about how when you're in love with someone, you kind of, there's like this haze and you don't really notice the little things that in them that are kind of annoying or picky until one day you do, and it's like glass shatters and it's like
Only thing you hear.
the only thing you see or hear, and you're like, how did I not notice this sooner? Like if someone chews really loudly, like if someone, you don't notice it until someone mentions it, and then there's a sound of like glass breaking, and then it's all they can notice. It was basically that part of that episode, and it was hilarious. And that is the only way I can explain it. It's like there's certain things that are so obvious to me now that I notice when watching a show or when watching a film, when analyzing a film, that I'm like, how on earth did I not see this before? Like it's so clear, whether it's a mistake, whether it's an acting thing, whether it's a sound thing, whether it's like a good or bad, basically.
Yeah, there's definitely some things that when I'm watching films now, I'll be like, oh, they did that on purpose. Like not the most obvious things that they show for the general audience, but the things that like are just very subtle and very small. And if you didn't really pay attention to it, you wouldn't really notice. But I was like, oh wow, they gave her that yellow shirt and now she's wearing a green shirt whenever she went out with this guy, or whatever. Like it's just like the little differences and the little things that they're purposefully done that you can notice now. And I think it's cool.
Yeah, just like the subtle differences. For example, like one thing that really stood out to me after I studied more about costuming and different designs and stuff was how important costume designers are, for example. How important the set designer is, and these little details now that I will notice in the person's wardrobe, in the person's set, in the person's room or location or whatever, and how it changes throughout the story that I never noticed before. But it's such a subtle detail, but it helps in giving your subconscious that visualization that something's changing, that something is evolving,
Mhm.
like a sudden change in wardrobe throughout a film from a character or whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
Or how the location changes throughout the film, whether it's like a coffee shop, a bar, a room, a house.
How the colors get darker or brighter,
Even
stay the same.
Exactly, things that you don't really think about when you're watching a film until you're looking for it,
Like The Shining with the red thing.
I always noticed. I remember, not The Shining. It's what was it? Oh yeah, it is The Shining. Wait, is it The Shining? Oh yeah, it is The Shining.
I see that.
Yeah.
People?
Yeah. I was just
That's
making
Sixth
sure.
Sense.
I had it mixed up. Yeah.
That's The Sixth Sense. Oh, I'm sorry. It is The Sixth Sense. That's what I was thinking. It was.
It's Shining.
Yeah, it's not The Shining.
Oh,
My bad.
it's a Sixth Sense. Yeah, I never noticed. I remember years ago. I remember watching a video essay on the Sixth Sense and them talking about the red elements. And when I went to watch the film, I was like, it's so in your face. It's not even subtle. Like there are some movies where it's subtle, the different colors meaning different things, but in the Sixth Sense specifically, it was very not subtle. But I still didn't notice it until someone pointed it out.
Yep. I never noticed it either. But it gives you that uncanny, not uncanny, but it gives you that unnerving feeling every time it's there and you don't know why. Subconscious. But yeah, so I like learning about all those little things and actually paying attention to them to spot them and see. And now I can, if I try to spot different things like that. Or, I can just try to not think too hard on the film, but that's pretty hard to do. Like Priscilla was saying, like I was already picky with movies and stuff, but mainly for their story. Now I'm gonna be picky about everything. All the elements. So if you're watching a movie with me, it's like the study group when we're watching movies and we pause it and we start discussing and breaking down everything.
And if you guys think that that's
I find it fun though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys think that that's just for the study group, you're wrong, because we do that at home all the time, and we used to do it even before we started this study group, to the point where like I would always think to myself and be like, I really need to be careful to not be this annoying around people when I watch a film, because I just have the instinct to like make jokes throughout the film when it's something stupid or something I notice, or make comments when I like something or when I don't. And I'm like, okay, I need to be really careful, like when watching stuff with other people, to not be that person, you know what I mean? Because no one likes that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And predictable, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm a worse person to go to the movies with or see a show with, because I can predict something. I can see something come. Oh, I know how he's gonna end this. This is a typical.
Yeah.
This is like what's his name who wrote Pulp Fiction? Like I already have his writing style because I kind of studied it. So watching his movies,
I think so, yeah.
so he has a certain, like the way he writes is he sends you on a roller coaster with like emotions. So it'll be like one emotion after the next, bam, bam. And his thing is just shock. It's the way he writes is shock value. So it's really no breathing. It's always action followed by an action. And certain writers I will follow. Like he's one of my favorites because of the action and the way that it's like he's more of he knows how to put things together so that so it has his stamp on it. There's not that many people can make movies like the way that he does, because he uses certain like the cinema effects and
like his composition and his angles and all that.
His whole composition.
Yeah.
So I can like a style of film, and then the other style will probably turn me off. Like I'm not impressed with his filmmaking, this, that. So I'm not gonna be a fun person to be around.
Yeah, Priscilla will be like that too. She'll guess the ending of a bunch of different shows or movies or whatever. Usually, she's like 80% right. 80% of the time you're right. 20%, I'd say they get you.
I'll take it.
80, that's not big enough. What the heck?
Okay, I really good. There have been multiple moments that kind of be like, wow, like he'll try to keep like a poker face throughout the movie. But that I think is just my stubbornness. I'm just like, okay, movie, you are not gonna outsmart me. I'm gonna figure you out. So, and sometimes I wish I could turn that off, because sometimes I just want to enjoy a movie. But my brain is like, you're trying to do it. This is a misdirect. You're trying to fool me. Or, like I just feel like I'm competing with But it's also like a little prideful. I'm a little prideful. I like being right when it comes to those things.
I couldn't tell from the 80%.
And
Only
I will
80.
feel so proud when I'm right. I'll just say, really? Yeah. But you will too. It's not just a me thing.
Yeah. Another thing I liked about this whole thing was learning about equipment, all the different equipment that different roles use, and then like just general filmmaking equipment that is used, because there's a lot of stuff and specifics about the equipment that we delved into as well, to really know like what you can get away with without and what you kind of need, and then all the in-betweens. And so I really liked learning about all of that, and made a huge list of things I want to get for independent films later on.
Which will take forever to buy. But
Right, but once I have them, I have
But
them.
also, we're not rushing into it either, because we know that's another thing that we learned, and I'm really glad we did, was to not, like, there's so many mistakes that we learned that we didn't have to make because of this study group. Mistakes that other people made that were like, okay, like buying a bunch of fancy equipment too soon, before you actually plan on using it, or prioritizing certain things more than others.
Learning the cost of everything. Yeah, the cost. Just learning like,
Learning things that are worth splurging and things that are not.
yeah, and just learning like, that this process is very long and there's nothing wrong with that. So you shouldn't try to rush it out just because you told somebody, yeah, I'm making a film. That doesn't mean you should try to get it out in 3 months for them. You should know that this process takes a long time to get right. And so spend time to do that, spend the money and resources, spend the time to find the money and resources to try to do it. Spend the time to make the pitch right so that you can pitch it to people to get the money to make the film. And then spend the time and the money on distributing and marketing, or figuring out a marketing strategy.
That is a huge thing that we learned, is like how to, because it's not enough to just make a good film. We need to understand, and this is something I said a lot that I still stand by, as far as I think that we go into this industry because it's such a creative field, and this goes for many creative fields. We go into it with a very rosy idea a lot of the time, and we forget that it's still work. It's still
And a lot of it.
Yes, it's still work, but not in the sense of, oh, I'm going to work hard, but also in the sense that there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of paperwork, it's still business. It's still like a company. There's like a higher up, and there's levels to it that you have to sometimes work towards. That is with every job. And so sometimes we get frustrated when we're not immediately like a director or a writer or whatever. Sometimes we will get frustrated at the process, like, what? I didn't know it'd be this hard, or I didn't know I needed all this. I needed to focus this much on marketing. Crap, like I already spent the budget on this. And I feel like that is something that is really good for us to learn, is to realistically, you can still be passionate about something and love doing it, and understand that there are bureaucratic parts to it, that there are things that are going to be harder and that are not going to be always fun, that are moments that it's going to feel like a job, because it is, it is work. It's going to feel like work sometimes. It's going to feel like passionate and wonderful and exhilarating, but it's also going to feel like work. And just because it feels like work sometimes does not mean it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something really important that we learned. And also that it's not like, oh, I made a film. There's a lot more that goes into it. Marketing is super important.
A lot of
Distribution
independent
is super important.
filmmakers feel like as long as I make a good film, that's all I need. And then when they get to, nobody wants to distribute it, and they don't have any marketing budget or plan, and then nobody watches it, they get really upset, obviously, because they thought they made a good film that they thought everyone was going to want to watch, but they don't have a way to get it out there to let people be aware that it's there. And so when they didn't know that, no distributor was going to want to try to take it because it doesn't, even if it's a good film, it might not be right for certain distributors. It might not be a very marketable film. It might be a good playable film. It's a very good film when you watch it, but it's not easy to market. It's hard to market because it's different, or it has a unique quality to it that makes it hard to give it a good selling point to other people. And they don't pay attention to that stuff until they need it. They feel like it's a later stage, like, oh, I don't need to worry about marketing distribution, that's later. But what we've
If
learned,
the film is good, of course it's going to be successful. Like,
yeah, if the film's good, of course everyone's going to watch it. Well, how are they going to know about it? But they don't think about that. And
or is there a
what
market
we've
for it?
learned,
We talked about so much. Sometimes the films that your story might be good, but there isn't a market for it right now. That's something you need to consider.
or you just need to know that it's going to be super hard to market it in that time, or to those whatever people, if you don't know your target audience, or if you're making a completely unique different film, you need to know what it's for. I also like learning about the difference between I really liked learning the difference between art house type films that go to festivals. Now festivals are more for the art of film, whereas film markets are more for the commercial type films, the commercial aspect. Because I never liked art house type films, and everybody was always saying, oh, you like film, so how do you like film but you don't like this? This is, all the filmmaker people are loving this. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, does that mean what does that mean? Does that mean I shouldn't like film? I don't know. Or should I not get into it? Because if I do, I should make a film like these art house types. But I really liked learning the difference between festival films aren't exactly market films, film from a film market. They're not distributable as much unless they get awards and stuff, then maybe they are. But festival films that do in the well in the festival don't really necessarily do well commercially,
Yeah.
because those are a different type of film.
Not always, obviously. There are a bunch of festival films that are very successful, that are,
Yeah, definitely.
that are more widespread. Like the other day, he was talking to me about this, and I named him a bunch of films that he didn't know were from festivals that I showed him. I was like, hey, this movie you liked, it's from a festival, this movie, and I don't even like overly artsy films, like artistic conceptual films that much. Yet I am very interested in philosophy and art and all this stuff. But when it comes to film, I am much more interested in either the entertainment factor or just the
Story.
like human interaction, human story factor. I do not really care about, like, if a movie is overly, if a movie is full of a bajillion concepts,
Symbolism.
meaning symbolisms, sometimes it will interest me, but most of the time, I just feel like, and this might just be the movies I've watched, because I've been learning a lot more about independent film through this, and I've been watching a lot more. So I've been learning that it's not all the ones that we hear about that are the super art house conceptual ones, but for me, more often than not, they come off as pretentious and just way too much. And maybe that's me, just because I'm dumb, because at some point I was like, maybe this movie's too smart for me. Like, that was the vision that I came into it. But sometimes it's just a matter of preference. It's just a matter of how you choose to look at something. Like, I love art, but and there are people that love art that just love the colors, that love a pretty picture. That doesn't mean they don't love art. That just means they love a different aspect of art. Other people, they like how art makes them feel, what it's trying to say, what the colors mean, and what emotion it's conveying, and all this stuff, and they really study it. And that's an aspect of art, Just because you don't particularly want to delve 100% into every single aspect of every single thing, or you find every single thing fascinating, doesn't mean you don't love something. You can love film, and you can learn about all of these different things. That does not mean you need to find every single aspect fascinating. You can like, oh, I find costume design interesting. Doesn't mean I find like, oh, I know that it's a part of film and I learned a little bit about it. That doesn't mean I need to find it fascinating, the meaning of all the colors and the meaning of all the outfits and like all this kind of stuff, you know? Am I explaining it right? I don't know.
I think so. Yes.
I'm trying to find like an analogy that would work, but I suck at analogies. I'm just trying.
But yeah, my main thing is like most people are saying, oh, independent films, they're like this, they're the art house ones that go to festivals, and festivals are the way to go. And now learning about it through this whole course, it was like, okay, no, that's not true. You can be independent, you can make a film that is more of a commercial type film, and you can still be successful with it. You don't have to go to the festivals even. You can skip that altogether and go straight to a distributor or go to a film market to try to make a deal with a sales agent or a producer rep. And so, yeah, I like learning about all those things too. And yeah, I think I've just learned so much from this whole thing. And this semester specifically, I've learned so much about pitching and marketing. And then of course, script analysis, which I find super important now that I delve deeper into it. It's extremely important for directors, actors, production designers, and more to look into it and to really delve deep into every single thing and come up with multiple possibilities so that they can make a unique, varied, and what am I trying to say? The multiple layered story. So it's not just a one note kind of thing. There's multiple layers to it, even though it's underneath. It makes it feel more real. It makes it feel more interesting, more dramatic, even if those things aren't coming to the actual page or aren't coming to the actual actor's dialogue. It's still kind of felt through the film.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it in a different way. There's different unique things and subtle things and in the background, in the foreground, how the camera is angled.
I feel like this
all of
also
these things
really
go into it. And so the script analysis is super important to figuring those things out and having such a different view on the script than somebody who's read it only once and hasn't done a script analysis on it.
I feel like learning about this also helps whoever wants to write a script become a better writer. Because once you learn that you don't have to, because I feel like that's what a lot of like first time movies suffer from, is just on the nose dialogue, trying too hard, the performances come off as forced or not genuine. And sometimes it's just a matter of learning different subtleties, learning that you don't have to say everything. You can say something without words. You can have you can use subtle movements. You can use subtext. You can use hidden meanings. It just helps you become a better writer once you understand all of that. I feel like it helps you become a better director, helps you become a better actor, because when you understand all of those things, you can go into it with a lot more subtlety, with a lot more nuance, with a lot more different ways of doing something, as opposed to relying solely on your performance or solely on the dialogue or solely on the visuals. You look at it as a grander picture. So you're not only focused on that, which means you're not trying as hard to get it through there. You're trying to complement it with the other things.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed all that. And like I said, this semester specifically, learning about marketing was really helpful. And for me, because it can be applied to film, but can also be applied to anything else. If you want to make a production company, if you want to do something like we're doing now and making a media course that we decided we were going to actually try to form into something and try to sell it later, and make it as like a tomorrow's filmmakers or future filmmakers or 14-day filmmaker kind of thing, where we're finding learning about filmmaking. Because like when I first started, the reason I first made this free is because I didn't really find as much worth in it as I do now in what we're doing for this course anyway. And over the time that we've done all this, I'm like, well, we're putting in a lot of effort. We've done a lot of time. There's a lot of things in here that I didn't know before. And I feel like we've really put it all together in a way that is worth something. So I found more worth in it.
Yeah, just the documents and the material alone, you did amazing. And it really, like, we've also heard from people that are actual professors and teachers tell us like, hey, like this is something that I actually like took to use in my class, or that that's similar to what I learned in film school. Like this is actually like really good. And so even if it's not like super professional, super like these are basically like study group conversations, but we still break down a lot. But like the syllabuses, the fill in the blanks, you know, those kinds of things, the different documents that you created, I feel like that was really well made. Really, there was a lot of care and attention to detail put into everything, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I feel like this also gave both of us more, if I can speak for both of us, I feel like it also gave both of us more confidence in it too. I know it did for me, because I found that I was really good at these things and I actually enjoyed doing them, you know?
Yeah, for me, like I said, for marketing anyway, I learned like that it is able to be done. I can figure out who my target audience is for my next film. I can figure out what the target market is for this type of course, and I can figure out a marketing plan for both. And so I had never really thought about that stuff before. So I'm glad this semester we focused on it, because I feel like I have a much better understanding of how to at least try to go about it than I would have if I never looked all this stuff up. So I'm really glad we focused on that. And then pitching, I just found it interesting to talk about, you know, the different ways, like the 3 V's of communication. I found that kind of stuff interesting to learn how to present better, learn how to speak better and communicate better with people. Because communication isn't just for pitching, it's also for communicating with your crew. So again, going back to the philosophy that we started with and saying that I feel like no matter what you're trying to do on a film set, you should learn a little bit of everything. You should go through, and if you go through this whole thing and you learn all this stuff, then I feel like you'll be in a much better position to communicate with everybody, to know what they're doing, to communicate in their way of speaking, in the way that, you know, oh, I know they need a lav mic. If you're talking to a sound person, you've never done sound before, and then you learn sound, and you know, oh, there's like the shotgun mics, there's lavalier mics, and you know why they're used in which ways. Now you can say, oh, I think that we should use a lav mic in this, and then explain why. Oh, because this is a very, you know, this kind of moment, it's going to be a very wide angle camera view. So I want to make sure that we don't see the mic, and I don't want to have a shotgun or boom pole be extended out 12 feet or whatever. So I think that philosophy stays true to the end of especially after learning all this stuff. I still feel like we did a good starting philosophy with this thing of learning a little bit of everything, because I think it applies to any role you're trying to do on a set.
No, yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, does anyone else have anything to say or add or about this semester? We'll talk more about the whole entire thing Monday as well.
Yeah.
I thought the pitch deck was really awesome thing to do.
Oh yeah, the exercise, yeah, pitch deck.
Yeah, pitch deck was really good to know different components of you know, what goes in there, because that's kind of a tough one.
Yeah,
I
it
was
is.
trying to be of people and, you know, trying to put it together. That was quite detailed and very informative, I think, because it all boils down to you know, what you present and how you can get the finances for your project.
Mhm.
And, you know, make it visualize it, you know, with with the finances that you can get from people. As such, filmmaking is very expensive process.
Yeah.
You can control the mechanics as much as you can, but controlling the finances is the most complicated stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And acquiring it, getting people to
Yeah.
give you money. That's the hardest part. Because it's just,
Right. I mean,
gotta give a
you
reason.
you can fund you can fund your project, but eventually you have to go that route. You can't do for every project.
Right.
You
Especially if
can,
you want to make a better and bigger,
yeah,
bolder things.
right.
Yeah.
First project, yeah, understandably, you kind of salvage, finances from here and there and make it happen. But eventually, you need to get to that process where you're actually, seeking funds from people and having knowledge of the different components that goes into doing the pitch. And just not for the sake of your own information, but also for the sake of getting up there and telling your story, and then in the most effective way that people can
Oh yeah, that was super important for me to learn too.
see interest, get
Being
interested
super
in your,
brief.
yeah.
Like
It's
as
almost
brief
like
as
your
possible. You'll lose people's interest.
yeah, it's almost like your the marketing stuff that you covered, which kind of goes well with it. And the process of marketing and distribution, I think that was pretty good. The material that you covered and the topics that you covered,
Mhm.
very good.
Yeah, thanks. I definitely agree because like all that stuff it was so like alien to me before we all studied it. And
Yeah,
then when we
commend
started
you.
studying it, it started being like, okay, I get okay, and just move one step at a time, learning this stuff until we actually figure it out and kind of have a better understanding of it. So it's not just walking in blind.
Yeah,
Somebody, especially like a pitch meeting, like you're saying, just walking in, they're like, okay, where is your pitch deck? And you're like,
No, can you imagine?
You have a finance plan?
A lot
Uh,
of this stuff is also so that we, can show more professionalism and can come into those spaces that are kind of shut off to a lot of the independent crew, and it's hard for us to break through. So the more we know about this kind of stuff, the more we can, break through to these bigger markets, or even just as far as getting our name out there, getting distribution, getting distribution companies to take our film seriously, that kind of thing is super important.
Yeah, and like Vish was saying, having all those documents and having it ready and professional looking and put together well, it'll make you just automatically appear like you know what you're doing, even if you're walking in blind and you don't know what you're doing. You at least
right.
have a good. They at least think you do.
Yeah. I mean, if the story is not liked by the people whom you're pitching to, then it's a different thing. But at least you have your base covered, and okay, you don't really, there's a fairly good chance that if they like your story and your pitch deck is intact, they definitely would be interested in your project.
Yeah. Whereas if you didn't even have a pitch deck, they might kick you
Yeah.
out before you even have the chance to tell them the story.
Right.
It's kind of like the whole key art thing, like showing somebody looking through and they see a crappy key art. It doesn't matter how good the film is. Their first impression is that this is not good just from that. And so doing the same thing with the pitch meeting and not having everything professional, not having those things they requested, not even reviewing that or reviewing it and not knowing what something is. So kind of just skipping it and then going there and trying to pitch to them. Yeah. Not gonna get their money probably unless they really like the story.
We also have to think about it from our perspective. It also helps us in the sense of we know how to protect ourselves a lot more now too. We know how to ask for things. We know how to negotiate. We know how to understand when they're throwing all of these terms at us, you know?
Yeah.
Because those are also tactics that bigger companies use to intimidate smaller creators. Thinking, oh, they
It's
probably
not
won't.
necessarily to intimidate, it's more to see if you know what you're talking about.
It's also, to see if they know what they're talking about or not. But there are also, unfortunately, bad faith, companies that will try to take advantage, like, hey, this creator is big in the space, they're up and coming. They made a film, but they don't know a lot about marketing. We hear stories like this all the time, where they won't make good deals because they didn't do their research at the time, or they didn't know anything about it at the time.
Yeah, and so they sign something that says they get 50% of the net revenue or whatever, and then they don't realize that means that it's down that waterfall, down that, oh, they're going to take their cut, they're going to take their cut, they're going to take their cut, and then I get whatever's left, and then it means you basically get nothing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know about any of it, they didn't research any of it, they didn't learn about it beforehand. So I'm glad we went over all that stuff too, financing, budgeting, to know what to look out for if we ever do get a deal from a distributor, if we ever do get a deal from a sales agent or whatever, like, is this a good deal, is it not? And obviously, also to hopefully still hire a entertainment lawyer to look over it instead of just winging it. But
No, definitely. But it also helps if you can't afford it, or if you want to be able to have freedom to even talk to an entertainment lawyer, like, hey, can you check over this for me, and know what to ask them about as well, because you should be able to fight for your rights for your film as well, not just throw it on someone and be like, here, take care of it for me, take care of all of it for me. You should be able to communicate with the people you're working with and be able to fight for your film, but also like speak their language and be able to have fluid conversations about what you want, what you need, what you think is fair, why they're bringing, and also understand, like, if the lawyer is like, hey, they want this and this makes sense because of this or that, or if someone pitching it to you is like, hey, we're going to give you this deal because this and that, so that you also don't feel like, oh, you're ripping me off, I'm not taking it. And you actually also can analyze it and see if it's worth it, which is something else that we studied, like different deals and pros and cons to all of that. Because that's another thing. A lot of us also have that idea of, oh, everyone's out to get me. My project is amazing and innovative and the next best thing since sliced bread, and I need to protect it as much as possible. And that's good, but sometimes it can create a bit of a paranoia or a bit of an overprotective, overzealousness, to where it's hard for us to make those hard decisions sometimes when we're starting out. Because when you're starting out, you are going to have to make some hard decisions. You are going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to balance some things and see what's worth it for you. And it's good to know your options and to know what they mean.
yeah, because some deals might sound like a bad deal, but now that we've learned more, 30% isn't that bad of a deal. That's kind of average, or 25%, 30%. And so if you don't know it and you're jumping into it and you're like 30%, and that's on the top, and then that goes down and more people take out money. No, I'm going to get somebody who wants to do 5%. We know, like, now that, no, that's not realistic. That is a average amount, so you might want to take it if it's a good enough deal. And so, yeah, like Priscilla's saying, knowing the difference between a good and a bad deal is super important. And that's definitely something that we were covering when we were talking about distribution. But all right, so for today, that's all for the recording part. For Monday, we've already we were doing this for like last half hour, but complete overview of all the semesters and an overall quiz. With this next quiz, since it is going to be covering pretty much all the semesters, all the previous semesters and this one, we're going to not go in order of people. We're just going to do what we did today. I'm going to ask a question. We're going to wait for somebody to want to answer. And if nobody wants to answer, I'll just give it out. Because that way we actually get people to show up.
Yeah, because otherwise they're all scared.
Otherwise, they all stay hiding or leave early.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk more about overall the entire thing again. Any other information we want to share, or anyone else wants to share anything, we'll talk about that Monday. And yeah, so that's all for the recording part. The next part, we were just going to, I don't even know how, Vimeo's kind of weird, but I'm going to try to just look at a few posters, some trailers of some independent films and see.
Next week, right?
No, right now.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess we could wait until Monday. What do you guys want to do?
We have that much stuff on Monday. It's already.
I'm going to stop the recording.